them policies are good. Bankrupt.
Policy them.
Exactly. For your home.
Forever. That's
No.
number one.
No. You can't.
Forever now come in, everything now go crash.
Everything I go crash because it have sustainability to it, and that's why we practice fiscal responsibility. Because as the Prime Minister saying that the force might come not even internally, it can come externally, with all of the chaos we probably might issue we are going outside the world, and even from natural disaster, and when the country find itself in a position where it can't recover from all of this because you were every red cent.
God forbid that storm come and lick the country and you're not power and we reap money where you give. We are going to use develop the country.
Well, we are going to use develop like a country. And these are the things.
You can't pay 3 years and can't put your back on the money on the belly if you restore the street like them now do nothing at all.
Alright. Because when I think to Squitty, when them did do it, you go back to the budget debate, when the budget debate did happen now. My ultimate conclusion was that if you're an irresponsible person that lives your life very irresponsible without any form of moral constraint or any watch out for any form of repercussions or consequences for your action. You are gonna like the PNP then but if you're a responsible individual that prioritize the future, I know say tomorrow is a next day and then there's a next day after that and then there's a next day. And you are a sustainable person that look at the country as a unit rather than rather than a bag where you can just take it and give it away. Right, where you can just move the country forward. Then the Jamaica Labour Party thing I go work hard for you, but if you want this, PNP I go appear to you. Right? And that's the thing, right? Because we practice the Prime Minister himself in preach the responsibility nature we supposed to where me want to see as a citizen of the country. And that I you will grow to with the but at the end of the day, them confuse me, Because more want PNP, more somebody to answer me that question. You want Mark Golding would ask you how him say the country in a recession, but him I go do 3.5.
Yeah. So, Virginia, quickly, how many of them say them all really give nothing back to the FinSac people? Because them all give to us some fish pan, TikTok and all them thing there. So what about the people them when them cause us destruction to take them life and all them thing and look what and the rest of them will leave back? How comes them now have nothing for them? You understand me, Squitty? Them all give one bag of people and then forgot this FinSac people.
The people that will make them be who them be is today.
Yeah. Them well to them talk about so much. They make them money already and all them thing there. And make it off at the back of them people. I want to come to now nothing to give them back now. Yeah, but see when tough time lash him with the question, him say yes, at least we know we get our money. Yeah. But Squitty, me and Julian say nah, but we not them now get it in the first term.
No man, him say I'm get it at the first fiscal year, which is April 1st. So like probably the 1 year I'm already. This fiscal term is in motion already. So it got in
April 2026, yeah.
Yeah, so when April 26 come, next one I go reset. So that's when it I go start. You can't jump.
And then plan all them, I don't know plan it out, them also go implement it.
Then just go implement it. Then plan it out because they might just jump, They might just jump from 1.1 with there, 1.8, 8 or 9 with them now. Cause we didn't do
1.8.
We are with our 8 now, right? We proposed 1.5 in a 2020, and right now we work our way up, so now we improve it to 1.8, and gradually, yes, it will go up and it will go to 2.0. So that's the proposal we have on the table. Them jump and a 3.5. You know how much. Well, how much is it projected? $90 billion?
$75 billion. It's quitting. 100.
let me just give you guys a little synopsis in terms of a quick lesson on economics. All right, so the government, so we talk about four things, right? We talk about capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure, right? And we talk about income, right? And expenditure. So income and expenditure, everybody know that is the money where you earn, and the expenditure is the money where you spend. Capital expenditure is basically money where you spend on projects like building roads, fixing water supplies. Those are one-off spend. So, like for example, you're gonna build a road, you're not gonna do that next year. Recurrent expenditure is basically expenditure will continue to happen over time. Like for example, you pay teacher salary, you pay policemen, you allocate money for hospitals, schools, etc. So we have so we're clear on those. So capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure. Then the other part is income and expenditure. Income is basically the money that the government earns from taxes and the money that the government spends um, for the year would be what we call expenditure. That could be recurrent or it could be capital. Now, the government is slated to run what is called a fiscal deficit of $34 billion in the next financial year, which means that the government projected budget is going to be $34 billion more than it earns from taxes, right? Now, how the government actually accounts for that money, or he actually make up for that money, you probably may get grants from other countries like United States, United Kingdom, Canada, etc., right, or China, or the government may actually plan to float a bond on the international capital market or even the local bonds market, right, to borrow money from people to actually fill the hole in the budget. Because normally when you have a fiscal deficit, it means that you're not able to fill that sum of money from the taxes that you will get from the people that you collect. So that is how we come to run a fiscal deficit. So by 2027, we will move to a fiscal deficit of $36 billion. Right? That is provided the economy does not go beyond a certain point. Now, there are ways of filling those fiscal deficit. If, say, for example, by policies and good management, and the projects that is being implemented, like for example, the logistic hub, the farming, tourism, and all these things, grew by say 2-3%. The possibility exists that because we would have been growing the economy, put more people to work, we may overperform on our targets. So, for example, when I say overperform on our targets, meaning that you may collect more money than you projected to collect. So, what if you say you're projecting to collect $950 billion this year, next year, right? Because of the growth in the economy and the amount of people that were employed and the record number of tourists and the agriculture was booming and we saw export growing, we were able to grow the economy. It means that we're going to collect a little bit more than we projected. So that is one way we can reduce our fiscal deficit, by growing the economy better than we had projected. The second way is to actually borrow the money, or if we can get the money through grants from other countries, which because of our status as a second world, or we're not developing nation. We used to be considered a third world nation. Now we're no longer in that category, so we're now considered developing nation. So we do not get the kind of grant that we used to get when we were a third world nation. So back in the days when PNP was in power in the 1990s coming up, we used to be considered a third world nation because of our debt to GDP and where we were. So we were removed on our poverty index. So the higher we get, the less people we have in our country who are poor, is the less countries are going to give us grants to take care of something. So where our grants from countries have been consistently reducing over the years because of the progress that we have made as a people. So we get less grants from countries like Britain, America, China, and Canada, and all of those places. So what we have to look at now is how we can fill those deficits through floating bonds on the international capital market, or we could probably go to the international financial institution like the IDB, IMF, and so on. But we're not going. I don't think we're going to IMF because IMF have stringent borrowing relations that we probably don't want at this time. And we don't have to go to IMF because there are more people are out there to lend us money at a reasonable rate because of the state of our economy. So we don't have to go to IMF.
Our credit rating.
Our credit rating is great. So IMF is a place of last resort. So if you don't have to go to IMF, you wouldn't go to IMF. Because as long as you get to IMF, it means that you cannot manage on your own and then you will need them. Right? So, not to lose my students and my audience. So the fiscal deficit for next year is going to be about $34 billion. Right? And for the last 3-4 years, we have been running a projection. We have been overperforming in terms of our tax revenues. And that is why we have been able to pay down our debts the way that we have been able to pay down our debt to GDP. Now I want to, so in 2027-28, we're going to run a fiscal deficit of $36 billion. That's our projection. The possibility exists that that may not necessarily be based on the performance of the economy. And by 28-29, we're running a fiscal deficit of $6 billion. Now these are allowed under our fiscal responsibility framework. And so what you find is that we are, as a country, if you look at the projection moving forward to 2029, 2030, what we may be seeing coming 2029, 2030, we will see what is called a fiscal surplus. And a fiscal surplus means that we would have been earning more money than we are spending in the country. So it is going to take us about 3 to 4 years within this cycle for the government to run a fiscal surplus. And a fiscal, just like you have a fiscal deficit, is that you're spending more money than you earn, right? A fiscal surplus means that you're spending less money than you earn. That means if you spend $1 trillion, right, you would have earned $1.1 trillion. So you'd have $1.1 trillion in your pocket. Now, what that means for Jamaica is that we can actually, when we start to see a fiscal surplus, because government is not in the business of getting, keeping money in their pockets, right? What they will do is to make that money become available to the people, to make their lives easier. So like you see the solidarity program, you see the social pension, you see a give back in taxes, and so on and so on. You'll probably begin to see then is when the government will begin to make tax returns a part of their budget on the annual, because we are running a fiscal surplus. And we would have bring our debt to GDP down, which also create a whole lot more fiscal space within the economy to do a lot more things. So when you see like in Canada, Squitty, and in the United States of America, where you see people who are employed to bush the verges, right, on a daily basis and keep the roadside clean, people walking with stick and pick up paper and put it in trash can, people going to the municipality, sweeping the street, you will see trucks start to sweep the street. You will begin to see the school buses go to every school. So every day children will go to their homes, go to their bus, go to school, they'll get a meal, they'll get tablets, they'll get books, they'll get pencils. Hospitals will have kind of machine that we see in the United States of America. Police probably may start to drive Lamborghini instead of regular cars because the country is getting to a point where, well, I'm not
like Dubai.
Right. So that is what a fiscal surplus means for Jamaica. It means that the government would have been able now to pay employees a lot more money, like police and teachers and all of these people will now be able to earn a livable wage that is commensurate with the United States and Canada. And what also it means is that our per capita income would have significantly increased. So what we want to see is somewhere in the region of $25,000-$30,000 per capita income. And that is where Jamaica is heading. So when we see that, Squitty, it means that you living in Canada, Squitty, you will be wasting your time. Because guess what, the little money that you make, the little money that you make from driving your bus in Canada and paying all that kind of big expensive rent, you'd have been better off coming to Jamaica to drive a bus, make the same money, live much better, go to better hospitals with better facilities in a little Jamaica. And so that is a vision for Jamaica. When you hear people talk, we will have to, like everybody, you have to tighten your belt. And then once you go through those 2 years where you run a fiscal deficit, you will begin to see a fiscal surplus. because we are going to bring our debt to GDP down. We are going to be able to increase our per capita income. We are going to be able to earn more taxes. We are going to employ more people. And when you employ more people are earning, and more people are paying taxes. So you are going to be able to collect a lot more money. And we are going to be able to inject more money in the economy to stimulate growth. And over time,
And money inflation.
It will only get better, because the more money you have, Scotty, the more money you can put in the economy to induce growth. Right? So for those people who are listening, the PNP has no such plans, because what they want to do is to take the hard-won gains from what we have seen to the fiscal responsibility that this government has put in place, and they are planning to give it away. 1 billion to that, 2 billion to that, 20 billion to that, 10 billion to that, and just keep giving it away. So they will become fiscally irresponsible, which will put us back to where we are coming from. And everybody know, if you know, and you work, and I'm going to make it simple as quickly and land. If you work, and you work $100, right? And your expenses $110, you have to keep borrowing. And if you keep making your expense more than what you earn, you are going to always be in problems, and you have to keep borrowing or begging or borrowing in order to sustain yourself. Now, if you earn, right, more than what you spend, you are going to have money you can put into savings, and that is why our NRR is $6.4 billion right now. So we have money in saving, and that is what we are going to use to prevent us from going back to where we were. So if you have money, when hard time come, right, or one day you go to work and your boss say, you say you're sick for all 2 weeks, and you can't work and you not get no pay, you have a little savings where you can go in, and you can spend out a little savings if you keep yourself.
You get unemployment.
Yes, and you get unemployment. So basically, that is what the government NIR is. When the country gets sick, you can be sick from a hurricane, you can be sick from earthquake, you can be sick from drought. You understand me? And realize that it has to spend a little bit more money while it is not earning. And if you have to spend a little money while you're not earning, it means that you're going to your savings, and you go and you spend a little money out of your savings while you're not earning. So that way you don't put too much pressure on the people. And when you come back from that sickness, and when you recover from the illness, you can start where you left off and continue to build on build on your savings. And basically, people, when you hear that the NIR was built from 2-point-something billion US dollars to 6 billion US dollars, which is now about 40 weeks of imports, it means that if a hurricane should come and knock Jamaica, we have 40 weeks of money that we can actually go into our pocket and spend and make the lives of our people better while we recover from this hurricane. Yes, and that is the best position Jamaica has ever been in since independence 1962. And anybody who has listened to me tonight, if you can point me to a time in Jamaica that is better than right now, I pay you $100,000 now. Right? Point me to a time in Jamaica's history, and since 1962, that we have been in a better position than we are in right now. And when we look at the projection moving forward, if we continue under the same fiscal responsibility framework, continue on the same trajectory that we're now on, right? What we will begin to see is a Jamaica that our children, our grandchildren, and us who will become old and retired can live a life that is similar to that in the United States in good communities, similar to that in Canada in good communities, and similar to that in England in good communities. And that is what we want for our people. And if you tell me that you are going to put your ex in for the PNP, it means that you want to go back to the 1980s, 1990s that this man just spoke about. And all of you who have wealth, have built up a little property in Jamaica, have a little wealth in Jamaica, and think that you are going to be intellectually dishonest, like I hear Damian King and those people who are being intellectually dishonest and not calling out the PNP for their poor policies and the poor plans that they have for Jamaica, right? And talk about hype and the fluff where the PNP come put down and gimmicks and not listen to Favour Williams, who was actually not the most eloquent of speaker, but she was the most potent in terms of the policies, prescriptions, and what she said about our economy. And if she had said anything up there tonight that could make the headlines, that was not necessarily true, you would hear every single media house come out this morning. The finance minister of Jamaica said this. The finance minister of a country, depend on what they say, they can cause the collapse of a financial institution. So they have to be responsible in their utterances. And last night, Favour Williams was not the most eloquent, was not the most potent speaker, but she was the most effective speaker on the platform when it comes on to policy prescriptions and soundness in her discourse. And I say to her, while she did that, come out as the winner, she was for me the best speaker on that in terms of her utterances. So Squitty, I'll land here and I'll take the comments after, and if anybody have any questions about the economy. And I want to say this, people, we may not necessarily come across as being bright, or we may not come across as having positions or status in our country. But when I think I can tell you, it is going to take a Nigel Clark and a Favour Williams and some other people to be able to expound on some of these issues better than some of us who are laymen can. We have the issues, we understand the lay of the land, and we know how to explain what is happening. And we do our readings, we do our checks, and we know what is happening. So we are not stupid. And if you listen to even these people on the TikTok live and match them up against some of these ministers of government, some of these politicians, you realize that the people on TikTok live are smart because they know what is happening. And Squitty, I'll land here for a minute.
All right.
Greetings. What are you going with? Barry, your economist the door.
Better, don't bust the man bubble. Man, teacher, what you pick.
That's my ear, Petal, my ear, you know.
My ear have a dress sore, you know, so nothing around. You know what I mean? I got me here, then put on my back on my back and I said, well, I'm gonna have a dress sore there.
Everyone have their worth.
But I'll ask Barry one question. Alright, you know, so in terms of inflation, we allow with that off the slide till we even have one $5,000 bill, which is ridiculous, right? But in balancing the finance,
Squitty, take me out of the box. May I go on listening? Just take me out.
All right, my J.
yeah, so what I say is like, me that try to understand, me not come across the reading when me I look for in a balancing the deflation where we can get the monetary value down and it can increase the quality of the dollar. Me not say that kind of technical, but that is that me not say understand what me I ask, but it kind of.
Right. So let me say this: inflation and deflation, right, are two terms that we have to look at very carefully. Deflation can be good to some extent, but it is not necessarily very good for a country because deflation means that your economy can go into recession, right? Because it means that if you are deflating, you probably can be you're losing your job market maybe going down. You probably are not generating the kind of economic activity that you have, and as a result, you see some level of deflation. Inflation, on the other hand, means that there's a lot of liquidity, there's a lot of money around to be spent, and because there's a lot of money around to be spent, it gives you what is called a supply and demand effect, right? So deflation would be when there's little demand for the goods and services that you produce, right? Inflation would mean that there's a lot of money out there, right? And because there's a lot of money out there and people are able to spend all of that money, the demand becomes higher. And as a result of that, the prices of things become higher. And when the prices of things become higher, then it means that it creates what is called an inflationary pressure within the market. So what you find is that what government tend to do is to actually mop up liquidity. And when you mop up liquidity, you float upon in the market at a percentage, right? So instead of having people spending this money out there in the market to drive inflation up, what they do is that they put the money into government paper to maintain liquidity, to maintain inflation at a certain level. Because you want some level of inflation because you want growth in the economy. And you don't want too much deflation within the economy because that will spell also recession in the economy. So either ways, up too high, you have a problem. Down too low, you have a problem. So you want to have a nice mid-range between both. So that the economy can have, there's a balance between both. So too low inflation is not good and too high inflation is not good. So the monetary policy is set by Jamaica Bank, the Bank of Jamaica, which has a target of inflation.
3.5 where them are trying to set the threshold,
No, because what that will do, that will create it will create a big fiscal deficit within the budget.
And the government have to go map up all of that liquidity there.
Right, so pretty much we don't want any inflationary pressure on the economy at this stage. That's why you have to balance the whole budget, balance the whole inflation numbers. And if you notice, they have a bond. So it's between 4 to 6%. So once it stays between the 4 and 6%, you feel good. But if it goes over 6%, what it's going to do is going to cause inflationary pressures. The price of goods and services will climb. Because what it means is that a lot of people have more money to spend, and as a result, the demand for the goods that are available is so high, and it puts some people out of it has inflation have a debilitating effect on the poorer class of people, because what it does, it puts the price of goods and services out of the reach of some people, right? While deflation has a debilitating effect on the economy. And
deflation has a strong effect on the richer class of people because their savings does not lose value. A man save $10 billion and by next year is supposed to have extra value, but deflation make it come like say the 10 billion is worth 5 billion. So deflation affect the rich.
And what it does, what deflation does, it means that if you're losing money or the value of your money, you're going to try to put it into something that actually will keep the value of your money.
Yes.
And sometimes you probably will cut, if you're a person who invest and have business, you probably will cut jobs to kind of maximize your income or your net balance sheet. You stop buying certain goods and services, you know what I mean? So there's deflation it's what do you call it? If it's within the band that the government sets, it's okay. But if it's outside of the band that the government set, then it's not okay. So too high is not good and too low is not good. So we want to keep it right there in the middle.
This proposal with the 3.5 is just an answer story.
It is an answer story. Let me give you another example, Spitty. All right, $75 billion, right? $75 billion. To find $75 billion in an economy, at any 1 year, it's going to be way out. Because if you grow, our economy is now valued at $1.23 trillion, right? That's our
1.3. Yeah, we're on there.
1.3, right? So that's our budget for this year. So if you say you were to grow by a 1%, you have to remember that when the government actually projects a budget and projects growth in the economy, you project growth on the basis that this is how I'm going to pay my employee, increment every year. So your recurrent expenditure is going to go up because your staff is going to get an increment annually. The cost of doing business in your country, the cost of supporting your hospitals, your schools, all of these agencies will go up. Every year you have to give them a little top up on their money because inflation is not necessarily flat, right? Inflation is like 3 to 4%. So you have to factor that into your budget. So if you say that you're going to grow by 1% and you're going to get $100 billion in terms of new revenues, you have to factor that $100 billion will not necessarily be available to be spent, because you have to factor in that there is going to be increase in government allocation for new wages, new increments,
New policies and projects.
all kind of stuff. So all of that money that you
Road, water, and light. Yeah.
right. Those are that $100 billion in terms that we'll get in revenues additional is not going to be available. Right? So pretty much if you say you probably can cipher out a $10 billion out of that $100 billion. So the max that you probably may be able to get is a $10 billion. Right? And if you were to implement a 3.5 next year, your net earnings from that 1% is going to be $10 billion. Good? Now, what happened is that in order to be able to get $75 billion out of in that 1 year, you have to grow your economy by at least 8 or 9%. In order to be able to come up with that $75 billion.
Which is unrealistic in Jamaican terms.
Which is unrealistic anywhere in the world. The only place that we saw that was Guyana. Recently we found
found oil. Unless Jamaica find oil or diamond or precious
So unless we find some metal that will actually exponentially grow our economy significantly over the next 2 to 3 years, then we will not be able to plausibly say we can increase the threshold to $3.5 billion and find the fiscal space within the economy to implement it without cutting significantly all the projects that are currently now under government. So you have to look at
So you just said that is like some there's a choice that we get votes.
right. And Squitty, you see, if it was a capital expenditure, then you probably could say yes, it's a capital expenditure. So we could fund it over incrementally over 3-4 years.
Because it's just one time you're going to do it.
Because it's just one time that you're going to do, but it's a recurrent expenditure, which means that every year you have to
So
find
it's in every fiscal year.
every fiscal year. So
But
it's
we
going to
didn't find that budget taxes that we got increase.
right.
Exactly.
So basically, the only way that is going to be possible is that you are going to levy a significant tax package on the backs of the Jamaican people.
Or you're going to borrow money every annual year.
Or
Stop
Cut
it.
back program.
And then guess what? You have a fiscal responsibility framework with which you have to manage. So you can only run a certain level of deficit within the fiscal responsibility framework. So you can't go outside that fiscal responsibility framework to borrow more money than the deficit than the fiscal framework allows.
So Barry,
Yes.
me love how you break it down. Hear this now, and this is why Squitty me say we can't trust Bunting and Golden.
Yes, sir.
These men were investment bankers.
Yeah.
They're not dons. And just as how Barry break it down a while ago, you know, think them know this, but still yet, they must sell with this Samfi, this 3 card, 3.5. That means that you cannot trust them because obviously, in the back of their mind, them know this, but them still come and sell with. That means that is a big, is a Santa Claus in our house.
Scam.
Yes.
All right. Let me give you an example of what happened in the past. Remember when Portia Simpson promised reduction in electricity, GCT and electricity?
Yeah.
All right. She promised that and said that is going to be a part of her when she wins. When she came into parliament, she had to walk it back after she won the election. She could not reduce GCT because the fiscal space within the budget would not allow. And she would have to put so much tax on the backs of Jamaican people. So to have given them that, she would give them with one hand and use 2 hands on her feet them to take it back. So basically, what if they were to implement this 3.5 billion, which can be implemented, but they would now have to increase GCT back up to the 25%, right? In order to be able to come up with that kind of money out of the budget.
But it's too big Barry. 25% is low because guess what? It is projected to be $90 billion in the tax package, right? That's multiple projects they must figure stop.
They
right?
have to stop projects.
And we don't have any. I won't say multiple, meaning like they must stop a bunch of projects that is going on, right? Because none of the projects is not. It's not like one of the projects them is 50 billion and one at 30 billion. So you stop two, right?
Yeah.
Most of them is like 4 billion, 6 billion here.
6 billion. The biggest project.
The biggest one is Path, I think.
Sparks, $45 billion.
Path. No, the biggest one is Project Rock, which is 94 billion. I'm see. And then
No,
there's Sparks.
I'm talking about.
Oh,
the
we're
current project that is going on now. So the biggest current project that is going on right now is the $45 billion Sparks program that is currently being administered.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay. Mhm.
And so when you think about that, every other project is under $10 billion. And so you have to look at 10 or 5 or 8 projects in order to stop those. We could include the school bus,
The school bus.
the
feeding
building and the
program.
hospital. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And all of those other things in order to be able to actually come up with these budget. Or the only other thing that you probably could think of is to actually implement a tax package on the Jamaican people that is so huge that it would actually not just take back the 3.5 from you, that the threshold. Because remember, no, this is only 200,000 people that will benefit from this. And somebody said it was about 80,000 people that will benefit from this.
That will be less because they work out 3 million at 200 persons.
Right.
So in other words,
5 will bring it down to maybe 80.
yeah. So in other words,
Yeah,
Squitty, we're in 2025 now. In other words, we're in 2025 now. By 2026-7, we're looking at wage freeze in the public sector.
In the public sector, because unless there's an act of God somewhere we found oil or something that will actually increase our growth exponentially, then the only thing that I see coming is a wage freeze or going back to the IMF for budgetary support, because the PNP does not and has never and does not have the capacity to actually grow the economy. And when you look at what the expansion of the park out by Mandela there, the moving of Twickenham Park to facilitate the expansion of the wharf and so on. Those are growth inducement projects that the Prime Minister has put forward. Are you suggesting to me that you're going to stop those? Yeah. The development of a town in St. Thomas and Portland will also create growth opportunities, because all of these townships will attract new employees. We've seen Spanish Town where the sobriety are going to be employing over 2,500 people. The wharf, the expansion of the logistic hub, when it is completed, will also be looking at 5,000 people. So these are growth inducement activities. The Pinnacle Hotel will employ 2,000-3,000 people. The Harmony Cove project will employ another 3,000 people. So when you look at all of these growth inducement projects,
and the rain tree,
and the Burnbrook and all of those that will come on stream, they will create employment. The government is investing in the economy, and once you invest in the economy, what it does is stimulates growth. So those are growth inducement activities that the government is putting forward. So when you hear these people come out here,
and this is why, Barry,
and you listen to them,
somebody said plumber can build furniture.
And this is
why,
don't forget the Montego Bay perimeter road that's gonna open up
That's right,
new
yes.
investment.
And this is why, Barry, we have so much respect for this Prime Minister, because this man could have come and dash out 4.7, 5.5, whatever.
Yes.
But every time Andrew open him out, you hear him talk about stringent fiscal discipline. Every time the man open him out, the man talk about fiscal discipline. And that's why he said 1.5, 1.7, up to 1.8, and then 2. The man know what I'm doing.
Alright, I'm just going to ask you, did you know that the government presented...
Well, Barry, where is I, man? I'm so quiet. Let me say my greatest mathematician and my greatest one.
Alright, did you know that the government presented a balanced budget this year? And we
got through 2 months without inflation, don't it?
Yeah. So I said this, in an election year, the government could have run up, I think it's about 3 to 6% fiscal deficit. And instead of running a fiscal deficit this year, in an election year, which means that what you would do in running a fiscal deficit, you would free up a lot more fiscal space within the economy to do a lot more things. And so the government could be having a much bigger road cleaning project. You could have seen every constituency get $10 million to do bushing, drain cleaning and all of them stuff. But what this Prime Minister has done, he said, I am not going to run a fiscal deficit in this year because that is not within my projection. I am not going to use any money that will harm the economy to run an election. I am going to stay on target because I think what we have done as a government is sufficient to the Jamaican, to say to the Jamaican people that we are committed to building a Jamaica that is better for you and your children. And having realized that and done that, we say, all right, we are going out there to campaign on the achievements of the government and not running a fiscal deficit like we saw Omar Davis did in order to win an election. Right? And guys, when you look at all of the planned development, for example, the road that will bypass Portree Hill going into Westmoreland or St. Elizabeth, that is going to open up acres of land for housing development. The Portland bypass is going to open acres of land for housing development. St. Mary is going to have a road that will actually open lands for housing development. And they are going to build a town center right close to Ian Fleming Airport, which will make that airport now a buzz. So we are going in Negril, they are going to build a bypass road in Negril that will also open up acres of land for development. And if you know Negril is a tourism mecca in its own right, which are different kind of tourism. So when you look at all of these projects that this government have in place, when he tells you that Jamaica will be the Dubai of the Caribbean, believe him. And I tell you, say I know economics, I studied it, right? And guess what? I am excited about the future of Jamaica. And for all of you who are not, I'm sorry for you. Because guess what? If you ever make the mistake and put in, I live in the United States of America and I don't have to come back to Jamaica. Right?
All right, man. Hold it there, so Barry.
Yeah.
Clear from Dexton, General Dexton.
Big up yourself, Squiddy, and big up the panel. Well, I was just enjoying that lesson from Barry, man. I tell you,
Yeah, we'll get some more from Barry, man, but we are making break.
Yeah, man, I know, I know, man, but you know,
Man, it's sweet.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
it's
we
sweet.
can drink some water.
The way he break it down, I tell you,
Economics
I mean,
2.0.
yeah, man, economics 2.0 right there. He has broken it down to the granular level so everybody can understand it.
You understand?
Yes, so everybody can understand exactly what is that works, what is going on. But you know, though, Barry, and I hope you'll agree with me that in financing the 3.5, the if the PNP were to win, they couldn't turn to borrowing, could they? Because there's a debt ceiling that is set that we can't go above, right?
Basically, that's what I'm saying. Within the fiscal responsibility framework,
Yeah.
we have to manage the all the borrowing within that framework.
So plausibly, then they would be the other than if they don't grow the economy, they'd have to definitely turn to taxes. Is that what you're saying, right?
They have to turn to taxes or significantly cut back on all the projects that the government
Or
has.
significantly cut back on projects.
Yes.
And when we look at all the projects now that's in the work, these projects are absolutely necessary because how you gonna cut back on the reach or say spark? I mean, and if you stop the school bus system, there's not enough savings there to actually finance that plan.
That is just 1.4 billion.
Alright, so I give you the fiscal the capital expenditure budget for this fiscal year. I think it's about $63 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? $63 billion the capital. I may be corrected on that. But I think the capex that goes towards projects, right? Is about $63 billion this year. Now, if you were to move all of those capex projects, which include the Spark program, the water programs, the agriculture programs, then you probably would not even be able to cover that $75 billion that the 3.5 is projected to cost. No, and that does not take in the other promises that they would have made in, like, for example, the $1 billion to the you can tell me the content creators
and the church.
the $1 billion to the elderly, the church $1 billion, the $2 billion to the $500,000 program,
The housing program.
the housing program. Yeah. All of these, so all of these other projects is not yet in that $75 billion. So when you check it up, when you check up all of the plans that the opposition leader would have actually put forward for new money, new programs into the country, it's going to run you somewhere in the region of, I'm talking about brand new programs, which are not necessarily being accounted for right now. It's going to run you somewhere in the region of $95 to $110 billion, right?
But let me ask you something, Barry, because this budget, this fiscal year's budget is already passed, right?
Yes.
And approved by the parliament. Mm-hmm. So that if God forbid and the PNP were to win this election, they couldn't implement this 3.5 income threshold right now.
No, it could not have been implemented right now.
But even though they said they would...
So it's going to be implemented in 2026, 2027.
27, yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
But there are some projects that could be implemented now if they decide to change course. So
but
let us
stick to the 3.5 because since it's a big item for them. So if they were to win the election, they would have to plausibly find $60 billion. That's what economists are projecting, 60 to 70 billion to cover this 3.5 threshold. So, and the budget is already cast, and if they do amendments, you'll agree with me, Barry, that there's not too many items in the budget as it is now that can be amended to facilitate that, right?
No. All right. So let us say that they are going to implement that in the next year budget, right?
Yeah.
And which they say that they're going to implement in the next year's budget. What you will find is that we are projected to run a deficit of $34 billion for next year, for next financial year, right? So if we're going to run a $34 billion deficit for next financial year, and you are going to implement a brand new tax threshold, which will cost you $75 billion, it means that you're going to add that $70 billion to $34 billion. So with no new taxes, and we continue the current programs that we now have, right? The deficit is going to be $104 billion. If you understand, it's saying that this 3.5 million tax is going to cost us $70 billion. When you look at the projected fiscal deficit for next year, this will also run on a fiscal deficit because we do not have the capacity, with the fiscal capacity space in the budget to accommodate this 3.5. So we have to find the money from somewhere. So if they were going to continue the same programs that the government have, plus implement that 3.5 next year, you're going to have to add it to the $34 billion, right? And that 70 plus 34 is going to run you to a deficit of $104 billion, which is going to be about 10 or 12% of GDP, which is far outside the band of the fiscal responsibility framework. And the only way to kind of stay within the fiscal responsibility framework is to impose a large tax on the backs of the Jamaican people, which somewhere you have to find either by cutting some of the programs that now exist, cutting jobs, or implementing a big tax package on the Jamaican people. So there are two ways that the government can do. You can cut jobs, right?
And
or
Barry,
you
hold
can
on.
implement
Let's stick up in there, Barry. So if you were to, but what I'm saying is that the budget is already cast. There is not too many projects in the budget right now, whether it be capital or otherwise,
right,
that you can suitably amend to facilitate this 3.5 threshold.
No.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, and I want the listeners just to understand this. That so if we can't do that, we can't go to borrowing because we have to stay within the fiscal discipline framework, right? Right. It would mean then, and tell me if you agree with me, Barry. It would mean then that if the PNP comes to office, they'll be laying out a massive tax package on the backs of the Jamaican people to facilitate this 3.5 million.
Yes, a big tax package.
Because that would be the most plausible option.
Right. And the PNP is not new to this, Dexter. They have done it in the past. They have put in 1 year $65 billion on the backs of the Jamaican people before.
Mm-hmm. But Barry,
yes.
Let us take them at their words, right? That they're gonna peg this 3.5 million threshold to what they describe as, in quote unquote, organic growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the economy, let us say that they're saying that the economy is projected to grow some 3-something% this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you this. Can we make such a projection on growth? Because growth can be impacted, and if you will agree or disagree with me, on internal and external shocks to the economy. Can that happen?
Yeah, we do make the projections, but guess what? We have to understand that, like you said, there are external exogenous shocks that can actually affect the economy. When we say exogenous shocks, this could be an hurricane, this could be drought, this could be earthquake that actually affects, right? And so those shocks tend to affect our growth forecast, like we saw Beryl did, and kind of put a damper on growth.
Even
right?
war,
external shocks,
external,
like war,
even our economical partners,
or our global meltdown, right?
Yeah, even
so
our
we call those exogenous shocks, which we have no control over.
May never another pandemic.
Yes,
we could even have an next pandemic.
So even though we forecast a growth figure of say 1 point, and I think the growth forecast is 1.5 to 1.8 for the next fiscal year, right? So that now will project probably a $1.4 billion in terms of new growth for the next financial year, right, or fiscal year. Now, if we were to see that, we have to take in consideration that we have increase in terms of we have increase in terms of the annual increase. So you call it again. The word just slipped me. When you get an increment, in terms of increment on people's salary, right? So that every time in government, every year you get a 2% increment on your salary. So that has to be taken into consideration. If we're in a negotiation here, like we are currently in, we have to factor in the negotiation what settlement we are going to give to the public sector workers. We have to also look at expenditure. For example, what increase are we going to give to each ministry to manage the affairs of different ministries. So those are factored within the projected $1.4 billion, $104 billion growth that we know of. So all of that money will not necessarily be available so you can play with because they're already accounted for.
So Barry, with all of that wisdom the way you give me, I just prove to the people then say to then never answer the question that was posed to them about the 3.5 last night.
No, they didn't. Because
you saw the lady said.
Without any new taxes, how much will it start in April 2026? Without any new taxes, how much will it cost? Is the timeline realistic? And which programs will be adjusted to accommodate the increase?
Question, Andrew. We are committed to implementing the 3.5 threshold starting April 2026. This will be funded from revenue growth, which currently, based on the 1% growth, is projected to generate an additional revenue of $140 billion over a 3-year period. Additionally, we expect within the envelope that exists in the budget. The budget has four main components. You have debt servicing, you have salaries and wages, you have the capital budget, and then you have the programmatic budget. As a political party, we would have our own priorities, and we will look at programmatic budget and make adjustments there. But we will begin implementing the 3.5 million threshold April 2026. However, there are other programs that we have announced that once we assume office, we will immediately, within the envelope that exists for programs, see how we will implement them. For example, ensuring that every
You might go on a rant to this out. But you must see him talk about programmatic budget.
All right, so let me tell you what's programmatic budget. Programmatic budget are, for example, you have a program that is good. Part program is one such programmatic budget. And you notice he did not say anything about the capex budget because capex budget is a one-off. Once the money is committed to that, you cannot actually take it back. So you have to look at programmatic budget, like for example, which is also part of recurrent expenditure, right? So a programmatic budget is really like a part program, which is a program that will continue. The social housing program, which is a programmatic budget. You have the senior citizens pension program, that's a programmatic budget. So those budgets are what he's talking about. So he says that he's going, if you look at all the programmatic budget that we have, which is the NHF programmatic budget, the PATH program, the school bus program, the social housing program, the social pension program, all of those budgets are what he calls a programmatic budget.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's simply saying, guys, is that they have to look at the programmatic budget to see what they can cut out of the programmatic budget to facilitate what it is that they plan to do.
Exactly. And my point is that there is nothing in the programmatic budget that will accumulate at what $75 billion.
$75 billion. And in addition to that, he says the 1% growth that is projected to give us $140 billion per annum, which I was just explaining to you. A lot of that is accounted for.
No, Barry, over 3 years. That's going to be over 3 years.
Over 3 years, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So when you look at it, well, it's over 3 years, but it's going to be 1% of $1.4 trillion. That'll be $140 billion. You understand what I'm saying? But if you were to take it that each year there's an incremental growth in terms of government budget, in terms of the expenditure, it will take up the most of this projected growth within the economy, right? And so there's not going to be probably more than $10 billion left, which you probably will use now for programmatic budget, right? Or capital expenditure out of that, in addition to what you would have had before. So when you hear him talk about programmatic budget, it has to be those programs that the government has in place, that the government would have implemented, that he would now need to cut in order to implement whatever programs he is going to implement.
But Barry, hold on, there's 100 Life. You know, one of the ones that I haven't heard anybody mention on 100 Life too, is that the Prime Minister is making this argument that we have to increase productivity, and significantly so, because that's the way we're gonna grow the economy and grow it rapidly. Yes. So, and one of the programs in the budget, Barry, that a lot of people don't realize is going to be threatened is
the training budget.
The training budget.
Yes.
Yeah, the art budget. Yes.
Yes. So we're talking about these young people who are now being facilitated by Heart, who are now being paid a stipend to go to Heart for the training. They are going to be seriously impacted if the government were to come in and let me ask you, Barry, and I don't know if I'm right, but isn't this, if we were to increase the 3.5, the income threshold to 3.5, would this be what percentage of the workforce would we actually be impacting?
Well, I mean, I think if we put, I think it's about it could be less than 20% of the
So
government work.
that's where my figure was.
Yeah.
Less than 20%.
Less than
So
20%.
so we're gonna be so if we would be increasing the tax package significantly on 80% of the larger workforce to supplement this for less than
This
20% of the
20%.
people.
That's-
Now does
that's
that make
basically-
if we're gonna dispense with scarce resources, does that make sense?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's too much of a reach.
That's bogus.
And
Totally
also,
bogus.
look on the
It's
bogus, the
bogus. It's
blatant,
bogus.
look on the blatant bogusness in this. The blatant, right? We're projected in it's not easy that it's sustainable.
It's not actually. That's
But
right.
it's not at one time. We didn't grow. Our economy did not grow.
All on the 100
3.5%.
lives. Squiddy, I think you need to expand your listenership. You need to advert because you need to bring people in, man, so they can hear. Because this is sound reasoning going on here, But Barry,
And you see what happened here. Yeah, you see what happened last night? Why
Like and share the live.
Yeah. Why I came down hard somewhat on the JLP to some extent, when a Favor Williams says, light won't work, what we had needed them to do is to come with the figures to counter to the people why it wouldn't work.
She did.
To some extent, I didn't see much of that. And I think, and for example,
Inspiration.
Yes.
Let me say this to you. The people who listen to the debate and were commenting on the debate, they were not listening for the policies. They were intellectually dishonest. All they wanted to see
yes.
who gave the best theater act.
Well,
Right?
it was theater. It's theatrics at its best.
It's
true.
theatrics at its best.
Yes,
Right. So-
theatrics at its best.
Right, so basically, and if you ask me, I would tell you that Favell Williams was the most measured of all the presenters, the debaters. Because as a finance minister, and I can't say this enough, that you have to be careful what you say. Because a finance minister inspires confidence within the economy.
That's
And
right.
if you go out
True.
there and be reckless with your comments.
True.
You
Words
are
can
going
crush
to cause
markets.
pictures in the economy.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
man,
right.
Man, people have invest their money in that.
Because you see,
Well, inspiration. Barry,
Yes.
just to paraphrase that, my friend. She could eventually say something last night that could fuck up the entire economy.
Basically.
because of news is one of the things that bring the economy up or down. And the negative news out there could signal a deterrent in some form of investments. So she has to be careful.
Exactly, because what you do now, I'm going to show you
Yeah.
the blatant scam what people overlook is that we're projected, we're projected.
Yeah.
The country hasn't grown 3.5% for us to accumulate that $100 billion.
That's right.
It is a projection, right? But
Yeah.
the policy is concrete on that projection.
But-
you have a 3.5 policy because there's a chance that the growth doesn't acclimatize, like you don't achieve the 3.5 growth. It is projected to be 3.5, but they can grow by 2.2% or somewhere thereabouts in that region, not fulfilling the ultimate 3.5 growth that is projected. But your policy is mandated that $100 billion that is there that is not there. So it is a dopey story. At the same time,
Listen.
it's realistic, right? It should
When
have
I
been.
heard-
What is realistic now is that if we had grown the 3.5 and it happened one time, but we had that money and then it is predicted to happen again, then you can work within, not even to the maximum money, you can work 50% within that growth. Like we grow 3.5 and you use 15 and you use 1.5% or 2% out of the 3.5. You cannot project say you're going to use all of the growth just to bomb it up in a 3.5 tax threshold. That doesn't make no sense.
I also was so
was so keen on the way that, especially that English guy with a British accent asks the question, the way they phrase the question. For example, one of the question they posed to, I think it was Larry, says, you said you would have grown the economy. So they're actually saying, why didn't you? As opposed to say, what were your plans in growing the economy from so and so? What would they pose it as though they're saying that you didn't do it. So the way the question was posed, sometime it was actually saying like you have fallen short of what you were saying. And while it was so, but listen this is one of the things why some of the things that affects growth in the economy. The infrastructure also, your accessibility to market to bring your stuff to and from, all those things, jobs, all these things are factors in growth of the economy. So it's not any one thing. It's a combination of
Assistive, it's assistive. Logistics.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what helps to grow your economy. The ease at which to do business, all these
Efficiency,
things are
efficient.
factors. That's right. So you have inefficiency in the country. It stunts the growth of the economy. Crime is one of the things that serves as a deterrent. Electricity, high cost. You want to bring that down. All these are factors. So it's
Right,
not just any one thing.
Let me say this, and I tell you this. Bringing the threshold to 3.5 in itself is not a bad thing. Because that is where we really want to go, because consumption taxes are always best for any country, because what happens is spread the tax burden right across. But what you find that Favour Williams and the Jamaica Labour Party is doing, they are doing it incrementally, which will not put a significant burden on the economy.
Not strain the economy.
Exactly.
All right, and
Exactly.
so what you look at is that when Jamaica Labour Party won the election in 2016, right? It was the Jamaica Labour Party who took the income tax threshold from $575,000 to 1.5 when they said that it could not be done, right? While at that time it was an election promise. And because it was an election promise and Jamaica Labour Party is a government that wants to stand by their word, they actually was able to make it happen.
Because the avenue was there through indirect
Yeah.
taxing.
And it cost us a little money to do it, but we managed to do it and we maintained it. And we said that we're going to incrementally raise the income tax threshold to 2.0 when Andrew Warnes told us that in Parliament. And so far we have not only moved it to 2.8, in the next 2 years it is going to reach to $2 million.
Like
And what-
1.8, Barry, not 2.8.
1.8,
1.8,
right?
yes.
And it's going to reach $2 million. And what Favour Williams would have said to us, that as long as the fiscal space in the country allows, we will continue to increase the income tax threshold over time to a point where it is beneficial to everybody in the country.
Right.
And that is a responsible way to put it. But to come out and say,
Very responsible.
But to put context to what you said, Barry, put local context. When Nigel was asked how we're gonna achieve the 1.5, is that he saw that there was, because Jamaica is a cash society, right? It's not like America, England. So first we're
Debit.
that is
Debit and credit.
yeah, that debit and credit, right? So how the government is going to accumulate but revenue is through indirect taxation, right?
Definitely.
So you open the door where you sustain the GCT so that people pay. We move through the indirect system. So you make up back for the budget. So like the 1.5 was sustainable and it not hurt nobody.
all right, inspiration.
But Barry,
Yes.
hold on. Let's not leave that because of this. Because I want the listeners to understand inspiration, the difference between having income tax versus having
Indirect
consumption tax, indirect taxing.
That's
But
right.
Barry, listen, because income tax, Barry, and you just to answer the question, isn't it a certain way for government to accumulate revenue?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is the most certain
Yes.
way, right?
Yes.
So that's why
Tax at
government.
source.
Yes. So that's why government doesn't want to give that up.
No.
No, they don't want to give it
But-
up
but-
because if they give it up, then they're gonna have to find the revenue somewhere else, right?
Right.
Yes.
But indirect taxation.
So indirect taxation now, on the other hand, can be accumulated by consumption taxes like GCT, the ad valorem tax that you pay on at the gas
different
pump.
goods, services, good services.
But
Yes.
to broaden that space in terms of consumption, inspiration, and wouldn't we have to
Grow the
drive-
economy.
grow the
Productive.
economy?
No, the
drive
workforce,
people's-
workforce.
Yeah.
Productive, the workforce.
Workforce.
That's where I'm going. Go to the workforce. And isn't that what the government is doing now?
Exactly.
People.
Exactly.
Do we see the wisdom of what this government is doing?
It's so evident. It's right there.
It's brilliant.
That's why we reduce the unemployment rate.
Hold on. Hold on, Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you talk on the government to bring down income tax from 25 to 15, how much you think it will cost? Because the PNP them say 145 billion.
No.
No.
Right.
It's 35.
Cayman says
Approximately
about
30.
30 something million.
Yeah, she said it's about 30. It's about $35 billion that it will cost us. But what happened?
That 140 something billion.
Right. Listen up. It is not going to be done on one go. It's
Right,
going to
that's what I heard too.
right, and we have not gotten any timeline as to when that is going to start. And she said that this will happen as long as the fiscal space allows. Right? So what it means in what we saw happen, we were at an unemployment rate of 13%.
Yeah.
Right? 13.5%.
Wow.
We need to bring our unemployment rate down to 3%. 3.3%. So that means with 10% of our population, unemployed population, would have actually found job in the last 9 years. Which means that the opportunities for people earning would have grown significantly. Which means that we have been able to increase our tax revenues exponentially. And year after year, we have surpassed our projection. Our projected growth has surpassed itself in the last 4 years, with the exception of last year when we had burial, right? And so it will continue to serve. We are going to overperform in tax revenues, and because we have been consistently overperforming in tax revenues in the last 2 years. And in the last election cycle, we have overperformed our tax revenues in probably 4 of the 5 years that we have been in government. Which means that if we continue on the same trajectory where we create employment opportunities, and we are going to continue to see an overperformance of our tax revenues, which is also very good for us because when we have an overperformance, it helps to reduce our fiscal deficits once we have one, right? So,
Let me ask you something before you're done, Mr. Brian. You told you 3.5, right?
yes,
The PNP said them are bring the ceiling of the threshold up to 3.5, and the JLP'S them would have bring down the tax to 15 over time. Which I think is a better policy.
all right. The better policy, the better policy is going to be JLP policy because guess what? It's going to be a twofold. It's going to be a twofold thing that we are doing, right? Because it is the same thing in essence, and it is the same thing, Because if you bring down the income tax threshold, if you bring down the income tax that you pay to 25 to 15%, what it is in fact doing, it is taking some people out of the threshold, right?
The same thing but different volume.
But a different way that we are going to be doing this. You bring the
Different
tax
volume.
down.
Two
Because
different volumes.
in both ways now, what you're doing is reducing the amount of tax that people pay. But what the difference is that you will have the tax rate at a lower rate, and then you would have probably a broader cross section of people paying, because the numbers would probably still remain, right? In terms of
Isn't that a win-win for the government though?
It is a win-win for the
and the
government
people,
and the
because
people
what
of
you'll be
Jamaica.
doing in essence is that you'll be reducing the taxes on the PAYE people.
And the PAYE.
So you're securing government revenue
Right.
while giving back to the people. Isn't that
While
what the government
giving
is
back-
essentially doing?
Exactly. And then remember with the improvement we're making in terms of the government revenue at the transport sector, like we're opening up. We have gained more revenue from JUTs and we're projecting to make a level income. I don't remember the money, but from the bus system, I know it was significant because it was whatever. But from the school bus system, being because that the avenue is new to the government, you know. So the government I can really make
with
money.
something there. But hold on there. So Barry, and the people must hear this, you know. I want you to repeat this. So when the government reduces the income, the taxes that the PAYE people have to pay, they're in fact securing
Revenues, yes.
and
So the same
maintaining
amount of people will continue to pay the revenue, but they'll pay less.
but they'll pay less.
Not necessarily burdening.
But what does that? Hold on, Barry. Don't run too fast.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for the government projects?
What it means
for the SPAR, for the REACH, for the NWC, the pipe water that's going into these communities that never, because wouldn't the government still have money to carry these programs through while giving back to these people?
Right. So what it means Dexter, that a lot of these people who are still within the band of the income tax threshold will begin to pay less money, right?
Yeah.
But the number of people will not be reduced. So if you have 200,000 people within the band, they will still continue to pay income tax, but at a lower level. So instead of paying 25, they're going to pay 15, right? And that means the government will continue to ensure a secure collection of revenues. And at the same time, you would not have to burden the general populace with more taxes, right?
More taxes. So you're actually giving back to the people.
So you're actually giving back to the people, you know?
But
and at the same time also, the government will gradually, as the fiscal space allows, will gradually begin to take some of those people off the threshold by increasing it incrementally until you get to a point where you feel...
To a point of 3.5. But hold on there, Barry, because this is what I want people to understand. Why the government can't do it suddenly, squitty, is that you'd have to, for the government to do it, to say, like what the PNP is proposing, 0%, they would have to significantly increase the amount of revenues. Let's forget that they're going to tax you. They'll have to to get the growth, you know, that they're projecting that they're going to tie this thing to. They'll have to significantly increase productivity, and to significantly increase the spending power of individuals in this country. And that's why, and right now, what is the struggle we're having? Barry, can you address that in terms of the labor force that the Prime Minister keeps talking about, the struggle that we're having with our labor force?
Let me tell you, our labor force right now, productivity is an issue. And I mean, when we increase, what we're trying to do now is to increase training in our labor force.
Yeah.
And so we're upskilling people. And when you upskill people, what you do for them, you make them more marketable, make them more qualified, and make them they're able to earn more, right? So let us give you a simple example. If you go on
slow it down, Barry, slow it down, because I tell you, you have to go pay you for this session.
Right.
So you're increasing people's spending.
We are working country, man. Everybody are going to we are working country.
Right.
That's basically so you upskill people's that upskill the labor force.
Right.
These people earn more money. Meaning that they increase their spending power.
Their spending power. Let me give you a small example. Let us go to a construction site, right? And a contractor comes and says, listen, I need 10 masons, right? And you put them one side. I need 5 carpenters, you put them one side. I need 5 steelmen, you put them one side. I need 5 laborers, right? Now, I need 15 laborers. Good? Now, if you look at it, the laborers is going to be paid the cheapest because they don't have any skill. They're just a general laborer. The mason is going to pay based on his mason skill. And the laborer now, they are going to say to the laborer, laborers, we have paid $10 a day now, so you take it or you leave it. The mason come now and say, right, you know, say, me lay block for $100, $100, you know. Carpenter said, me build columns, right? The carpenter said, listen, me box up columns for $10 square foot, you know. Right? And the steel man said, me tie steel for $10 a ton. Now, what's the difference between the conversation? The people who are skilled are negotiating their price.
Ah, yeah.
Right? The labor, the man who has labor, him can't negotiate the price, Because guess what? He has no skill, so he has to take what he gets.
As a
Now, what the
deficit.
Prime Minister is doing now, the Prime Minister is going to the labor pool and he say, all right, 5 of you may go train you as mason. 5 of you may go train you as carpenter. 5 of you may go train you as steelman. What is going to happen next time around? When they go to a labor site to work, they are going to negotiate their price. Because guess what? They are now skilled and they have to be paid based on their skill.
Marketable.
So they are more marketable. So you can't just come and offer them something. They have to negotiate with you for what they work for. You have to pay them according to what they are valued. And that is what the government is doing. It's going into the general labor pool. He's taking out the people who don't have any skill. He's upskilling them. So when they go to a workplace, they are paid based on their qualification. And not just be offered anything. If you understand what I'm saying. So when we say upskill, it means that you are moving from a laborer to becoming a mason, a carpenter, a steelman, which means that your earning potential is far greater. And when you have that now, what we want to see happen in Jamaica, when we're importing labor, we want to go down to import the bottom of the scale. We want to import general labor and not trade. Because the tradesmen will be the ones who take home the most money, and the general labor will take home. So if we go to Haiti or we go to Trinidad or we go to Barbados or St. Vincent to recruit people, we have to go and recruit general laborers because guess what, we don't have enough of them in Jamaica. But we have our tradesmen and they are making the bulk of the money. We don't want to go import a carpenter, a mason and a steelman because they would come in and take the bulk of the money. And like what you see when we recruit farm workers from Jamaica, they are the general laborers.
Yes, it's the same thing happens right now in Singapore. The employment is so high that people comes into Singapore on a daily basis to work and go back home because the people in Singapore, they're so high skilled. The average income is about savings is about $50,000 US, must be more now, and the people come in and work and go back to the countries that are adjoining or close to them. So that is the idea where they're so upscale.
Inspiration. I hear that in Singapore you can't even find a housekeeper if you want one.
Basically.
Exactly. And this is where I said the Andrew Onis administration is a brilliant idea.
Brilliant.
But the people have not the eyes to see where it's going. And if somebody tells you a lie so many times, after so many times, you will believe it. And all I want to hear is the opposition to say nothing is happening. And those who seem to take the path of least resistance drink that Kool-Aid and try not to upskill themselves. And it becomes a drag on the economy very shortly. That's what we're faced with.
Yeah, because the workforce has been neglected for a very, very long time. So it is essentially to say that Jamaica is moving at a faster pace than the citizens. If you
cannot keep with it. Yes.
If you can contrast.
Yes.
So it's like the government have sign a stun the growth of the country to kind of involve the people to catch up, so to speak.
All right,
I have one more question for Barry because we heard this coming out of the debate last night, and I don't think it was properly addressed by the minister. The trade deficit, Barry, because we have seen where we're actually the trade deficit has widened in Jamaica. So if you just want to explain what a trade deficit is, that we can just delve into it.
All right, the trade deficit basically is that we import way more than we export. That can be a very good thing and it can be a very bad thing.
And that's where listeners, that's where I want you to train your minds. It can be a very good thing and it can be a very bad thing. So the question is this now, Barry. Right now we are having a widened trade deficit. When you look at the Jamaican economy as it is now, do you think it is a bad thing or do you think it is a good thing? And if you think it is a bad thing, why? And if you think it's a good thing, why? So the listeners can understand.
Let me tell you why. Let me start with the positive first. What we see why we have a trade deficit, we now have an expansion of the economy, right? So you find the consumption pattern of the Jamaican people has changed significantly. Because a lot more people are working and they have a lot more money to spend, right? And the thing is that our productive sector was not keeping pace of it. The tourism sector is increasing significantly. And as a result of that, we have to feed our people. We have to feed the tourists. We have to provide for them. Now, so how it's going? Oh, it's a good thing is that the economy is expanding, and that's good for the people. And what it does, it creates opportunities for locals to actually see what here we can actually start to produce service these here within our country, so we can reduce the trade deficit, right? If you understand what I mean, and I hope I did justice to that. So because of the expansion of the economy, we have to import more to fulfill the demand for the goods and services that we do not now produce. But it creates an opportunity for us now to look to see what areas we can expand and we can invest into to start to produce some of these goods to serve our local economy and try to have a surplus where we can export. Because the first thing that we want to do is to fulfill the gap within our local economy. And
So this deficit that we're seeing then is driven by the improvement in the economy.
Yes.
And because of that improvement, we are seeing a demand for more goods coming from overseas because we don't produce them here.
That's right.
So when the little person that can sit on their computer in their home and order something from Amazon, it tells that this person is seeing an improvement in their salary.
The salary
is good, and now they can go onto Amazon and they can order their stuff that we don't naturally produce here. But what the government so the government now wants to close that deficit, and we see where the Andrew Holness administration is saying, let us start producing more.
Yes.
Let us close the waste in agriculture, and that's why, and you'd agree with me, Barry, that's why we're seeing a building out of these cold storage facilities throughout the island. You know this?
Yes. No?
But explain that to the listeners, why you think the government is taking this route.
All right. So basically, what we're doing now is that agriculture is probably one of our major thing that we're importing, especially for hotels. Now, what the government is doing is that because of how our weather pattern operates, we have a drought period, we have a period where we have rains, and so sometimes we have a glut in the market. So we produce and we have a glut in the market and we have to sell those things. So it kind of destabilize our agriculture production. So now the storage capacity that is now being built is going to help us to stabilize and maintain a supply of agriculture produce to our market. So say for example, at a time when we produced our most of our tomatoes, I don't know what time of the year that is, we produce say the demand for tomatoes in Jamaica is probably say 50 tons. And we produce 70 tons of tomato. We produce way more than the demand is. So guess what? We have dashed for 20 tons of tomato. And during that time, because the demand for tomato is so low, because there's so much tomato, the supply is so high that the demand outstrips the demand. And as a result, the price becomes way, way too low. And at that time, farmers stop producing tomatoes. Right? So that means when they stop producing tomato, and then those tomatoes that are perishable items vanish, then what you'll find is that when there's not much tomato in the market, the demand for tomato is going to get so high, and the price is going to get so high. And as a result of that, it creates a level of instability, and also we find where people will import. Now, what the storage facility will do, it will give us an opportunity when we have a greater surplus of tomatoes for the market. We will put the surplus in storage, so that when the demand for tomato becomes higher, we can go into the storage and take out and supply the market, which will stabilize the productivity of our farmers within the country and the earning potential of our farmers. So instead of having tomato move from $200 a pound to $10 a pound, it probably will stay at the range of $50 a pound right through, because the demand is the supply is going to be stabilized with the storage capacity. If everybody understand what I said.
Isn't that a forward thinking and visionary move by this government, man?
It is a excellent move. And
On need to encourage the people them in the saying like on our talk, tell themselves they have to make sure them go and vote to keep this government. So all them things we not talk about can continue.
Well, yes, Scooty, what we see, is like the opportunity that is now happening, the opportunity that is now being created by this government. We'll begin to see our farmers becoming wealthy. It's like in the United States and Canada where farmers are the rich people.
Yeah, man.
That is what we're going to begin to see in Jamaica. Farmers will now become the rich people in Jamaica. Because when you have a constant demand for the produce that you produce, right? You are going to be able to say, listen to me, all right, I'm going to plant 2 acres of tomato, right? And if I get 50,000 tons of tomato, I can, and the market only requires 30,000 tons, I can put 20,000 in storage, and I know that I will get $50 for my tomato at any point because there's stability in the market. So you can plan around your production.
And that's the way to move the country to a first world.
That is where
and to expand farming too, because one of the ways in which farmers lose out, is when like there's a glut on the market.
There's a glut, and it discourages them.
Yeah, it discourages them because their goods going to spoilage, their prices are significantly reduced. So so when you have a facility, when you have planning like this, roundabout, as Barry says, to stabilize prices, it encourages the farmers,
Yeah.
Somebody I know somebody have to come in.
Stick up in there. Somebody ruler asks, how about the quality when it's stored too long?
All right, so you have a policy in storage that is first in, first out.
Yes.
Right? So first in, first out. So when you put produce in storage, the first one that you put in is the first one that you are going to take out to supply the market.
And I think them other gauge them things so the thing them not can stick.
Yeah, so you know at what point you are going to take these out. Right?
Yeah, man, these things are going to be meticulously managed.
Right. So it's a first in, first out policy. And I mean, you are always going to have oversupply of store, and you are going to have some level of spoilage. And it doesn't matter how you take it. But what it will do, it will reduce the spoilage significantly.
Uncle Barry, but they also said that you can process these goods. So if we're opening new markets, so it's for instance, if you want to make a puree, anything that you want, so it's like opening a whole new market because they're gonna have facilities to do that in this storage.
Very good intervention, Kimmy. So Navi. So basically, so the value added aspect of the agro processing now. So when there are different processes, For example, the oversupply does not only necessarily supply the hotel chains, It supply people who are into value added products too. Like for example, Grace workers within these companies. So what happens is that when you have a glut, it means that these companies who normally buy from, whether it be value added people, hotels, farmers and stuff, they mean that there's more than that they would need to add value to. So when you have it in storage, they will know that
Barry,
I can produce.
Uncle Barry, you know what's good about this too? You see, like restaurants in Jamaica, they have to import different things like tomato sauce and stuff like that. So with the new cold storage unit and their processing unit, they can just buy directly from the cold storage unit and the farmers for these things and get it fresh.
Yeah, and that is the whole adage of eat what we grow. And so when we buy from ourselves, that creates quite a boost in the economy.
Right. So basically, the cold storage facility, what it will do in fact, it will keep the products for much longer and provide stability in terms of pricing and the supply of goods and service, supply of goods within the market. Basically, that's what it will do. And then when we have the value added aspect of it being created, that's a whole different new industry now. So if we have introduced a value added component to farming, what it would mean is that there would be greater demand for the produce that we know produce.
Uncle Barry, but they, you know what's good about it, like they, like it, when it, I finally conceptualize everything. Now I see what Delano was saying that the farmers will ultimately be the ones supplying the hotel industry more, and
Basically, because
that will the cold storage unit will introduce a new market to the hotel industry where they can buy processed agricultural goods from the farmers directly because they will be providing that environment for them. So
all right.
it all comes together basically.
All right, so let me give you another thing that actually affect farmers too. You see, consistency is another thing that affect farmers. And I tell you, all right, when I used to be in farming, I used to have a market that I supply. So I supply chicken to this market. My customer want from me 1,000 pounds of chicken every week or 2,000 pounds of chicken every week. And when my customer calls me, I should be able to supply. I guarantee you that I can supply you with 2,000 pounds of chicken every week.
Yeah. Okay,
So
but
when you
how much £1,000 your friend will take for you?
so when you call me now, Squitty, I said, Mr. Martin, I want 2,000 pounds of chicken tomorrow morning. I cannot say to you that I don't have your 2,000 pounds of chicken. Because guess what? I'm going to throw you off. And if I do this one time, and you even see with me, if me do it next week, you're going to drop me. Because guess what? Me, I mess up your business because your customer want chicken from you to buy. And you can't consistently supply the chicken. So so what I do when I used to produce chicken, I only produce for my customers. And nobody can come and buy some chicken from me because guess what? I have to have my customer chicken when they call me. And that is consistent. So what this storage will do to the farmers is that if I have a contract with Grace Kennedy or with Harmony Cove Hotel, to say to Harmony Cove, I'm going to provide you with 50 pounds of tomato every week on Friday morning, right? You have to make sure that every Friday morning you reach to Harmony Cove and produce your 50 pounds of chicken, 50 pounds of tomato, because if you don't have it, next week they're going to drop you because guess what? You mess up their thing and their guest experience is going to be altered because you do not have
cold storage. You not help them to always have in stock.
So the cold storage is going to help you to have in stock so you can always have a contract that you can always meet. And that is what another thing that the cold storage will do is to produce reliability on the part of the farmer. So when you go sign a contract with a company, you can put that as a part of your contract to say I can produce 500, I can supply you with 500 pounds of chicken. I operate 10 acres of land. I yield 50,000 pounds of tomato, which is more than you need. So I will put X amount in cold storage and whenever you need it, I can always provide it for you. This is what your contract will look like. So when somebody look at that now, we say, this is a man I want to go in business with because every time I want my tomato, I will get him and I can call him and he will deliver. And that is what the cold storage will do.
But Barry, aside from that though, isn't this opening up if the government is able to build out these facilities? Say, let's say St. Thomas, for example.
Yes.
At one time, St. Thomas was the largest producer of mangoes in the country, right?
Yes.
Say St. Thomas goes back into mango production and you have these facilities built out in St. Thomas. Wouldn't that be leading to an increase in the export market for, say, mangoes, which is, Jamaican mangoes are highly demanded in Canada and in the United States.
Right.
So we're looking at an increase in our importation regarding agriculture. And not only that, as Navi mentioned, it would eventually lead to new industries, for example, the food canning industries.
The puree of mangoes and all that.
The puree of mangoes and all that thing. So we could see industries like that spring up around these, like in St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas.
Pretty much all the parishes.
Pretty much all the parishes,
that actually has farming, St. Catherine does mango too.
So we would not be just looking at, say, Aki and Kalaloo and all that. We're talking about if we can maintain, as you say, maintain the source of then through these cold storage facilities, then we could have an industry that, you know what, I was
That's
looking at Barry. Hold on there now. I was looking at Barry where Grace Kennedy, I don't remember what, maybe it was coconut oil. And they were saying, I was watching, and the person was saying, the reason why Grace Kennedy hasn't gone more into the coconut oil business is because they have to source their coconuts from other countries. We don't have enough. So I'm not saying you're right. When we have these agricultural products in storage and we can provide through consistency, we can provide to these industries, then it will open up these markets for us.
Yeah.
So I think the government is onto something in terms of adding not just to not to the primary product, but more to the value added part, which attracts the money, and then we go into importation of these products, and then we attract more foreign exchange.
Dexton, one second there. Damian Young is planning to do that too as well, because the equipment them is all actually in the constituency already. In just say becomes the MP and then it all up and running. But they more do a lot of processing and such as like even potato. The more use, the more use it to make flour too. Use it to make chips and all these things. Yeah, it's a good idea.
You know one area that I'm particularly interested in. Years ago, I met with in Toronto with the Toronto Investment Club, and one of the things they were after was cocoa beans. Listen to this. Hershey says when it comes Christmas and Valentine's Day, they cry tears because there's not enough cocoa beans to make chocolate. And so I heard about it. I put a request to have a meeting with some agriculture personnel in Old Oak Road in Kingston about this cocoa beans, because JAMPRO says that they are the people through which we have to go through to get to these people. And I did all my checks and balances. Hershey told me if I could have someone to validate these purchases that I make and validate them, I could be one of their agents. So I remember as a boy, I used to play with this cocoa beans. I used to eat it, and my grandmother would beat it and make chocolate tea on the weekends. So I ran down and I had a meeting with them. And you know what they told me? I needed 5 tons of cocoa beans. Now this is a demand all over the world. Hershey said to me that when they use the cocoa bean from Jamaica, some of the ingredients that they would normally put in the chocolate, they don't have to put it because it is so naturally flavored. And when I went there to get at least 5 tons, they told me that they don't even have, their quota is 15 tons and they cannot meet the quota. So they were actually pointing me to some farmers and see how I could link with them to plant more cocoa beans. So I met with some farmers in St. Catharines and I said, how can we kickstart this industry? And they said to me they were getting ready to burn their field down because of the low price that the government the low price that the government was paying them for their cocoa beans, and for them it's not worth it anymore. And I tell you, my heart sank because I realized that there was still a great demand for cocoa beans. It's one of the areas of agriculture that we need to explore and capitalize on. Believe me.
Hey, Dexter.
So hold on, Barry. So when the PNP them say, oh, we got in that thing in the manifest, I mean, I'm talking about cold storage, they're not going to build cold storage. It's already built.
Of course, it's already built. Squitty.
Uncle Barry.
Yes, Natalie.
I was saying that as you were speaking about this, right? I was remembering when the Prime Minister was saying he's like he's there trying to figure out what's native to the parish. So I know I understand what he's saying when he said each parish is going to have its own economy, just like how in the states, every state has their own economy. The California, it's with grapes or stuff like that. So now I understand his vision, like everything. Like now that you guys are speaking, it is just like I've seen his vision clearly. Just like you say, Saint Elizabeth is the bread basket parish, so he's investing in cold storage all over Saint Elizabeth. Just little things to say. Oh, he's building this parish's economy, so all the money that's made can be invested back into the parish and develop that parish.
Definitely, Navi. Inspiration. Prior to my going into chicken, I was a cocoa farmer.
Really?
Yes. I cut
What
down my
happened?
cocoa trees to build chicken coop,
Why?
because the price I was getting for my cocoa was ridiculous.
That's what the guys told me in St. Catherine. I met with them.
I'm from St. Catherine. I don't know if you remember. I don't know. How long ago was that? Because
That was probably maybe about 10, 12 years ago.
I could be one of those persons you met with. There's a Rasta man
Oh.
who lived right beside me.
Yes, there was a
And he
dreadlocks guy.
Dreadlocks, yes.
Yes. And it's a small world.
Yeah, man, small world, yes. And I cut down my cocoa tree, right? And because he told me about you, and he said that you wanted to meet me.
Yes.
So now that you said, I remember. So I cut down my cocoa trees because
Yes.
the price that I was getting for those cocoa trees. Because the dreadlocks there was a collector of the cocoa, So he collected it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I felt like I could cry because Hershey's saying we could give you top dollars, but the guy's saying they on the floor, on the ground, are not getting anything, but the middleman is making a boatload of money.
Yes. Because I had in addition to where I build my chicken coop, I had about 4 acres of cocoa, and I just leave it to ruins,
The guy told me he had about 4 acres.
Yeah.
Exactly 4 acres. He said, I have 4 acres we can go with.
Mm-hmm.
I said, really?
So,
Wow.
and then I had
Wow.
another half a acre where I was, and there's another piece of property that I have that I had about an acre of cocoa on it that I have not gone to in probably about 20 years. That was my grandfather's property.
You know when Hershey identified the countries that were rich in cocoa bean was I think it was Costa Rica, Ghana, Jamaica. I think Trinidad have a little bit too, but and another country there. I can't remember which one. But very rich.
Remember that name is, yeah.
Yes, rich. And my journey took me right into Ghana, and I saw acres and acres of cocoa beans, and I wanted to strike a deal there with them because I still believe it is a deficit around the world.
Yes,
There's not enough cocoa beans globally. There's not enough.
And we had a problem too with this.
There's a disease.
There's a disease. I don't remember what's the name of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the disease came.
Yeah, the cocoa pod disease, I believe.
Yeah. And I have my farm, some of my farm on it too, and I got it cut back, then it came back, And then when I was able to salvage from a few boxes of cocoa, the money I was getting wasn't even worth it. Because when I paid the guys to pick it, and by the time I collected money, it was just to give them back. So and then I wasn't getting any bonus.
Oh no.
Yeah? We used to get some bonus, then they cut out the bonus and just pay me one price. So when I used to sell the cocoa at first, I would use the money that I sell it up front for to pay the guys to clean up the cocoa and to actually pick it and sell it. So when I get the bonus, that would be my money. But now when they cut out the bonus, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. The guys told me that, and they even said to me that even the ministry, when I met with them, they said our equipments are old from in the 60s. And I look at the equipment for the processor guy, said, oh my God. He said it's an old boys network.
Yeah.
That's what they said to me. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't understand it. And I left Jamaica disappointed, saying the government has no plans for agriculture. That's how I packaged it, and I left disappointed.
I cut down all my trees, and I probably may have about 3 or 4 trees left on the property there.
Wow.
But guys, let me tell you this. I would say to all of us, there are exciting times ahead for us as a country.
I believe that.
It's just that we need to have this government continue to marshal the thing. Andrew Holness is not about, he's building a legacy. He's building a legacy for us. And what I find, of all the prime ministers that we have had, he is the first prime minister who is born after independence. And he's not thinking about his lifetime. He's thinking about beyond his years
to come.
Forward thinking. And
yes.
this, and if you look at it, all the plans that he's now putting in place will impact the country 20, 30, 40 years to come. And our children and our grandchildren will live in a better society. And that is what he wants to do for us.
But Barry, do you think that the one of the deficits I see with the Labour Party, do you think they bring out their messages enough? They have very good messages, very good plans, but is it reaching the people, those who, and you have to be able to communicate them at their level? Do you think they're really getting to them?
Let me tell you, can I explain this to Barry? Let me tell you what the Labour Party government has failed to do. They have failed to really talk about their achievements. So
exactly.
Things going on and they don't even know. It basically, when you're young and you see the house is running and you're not, you can't appreciate what you have because you don't know how people come by it. And I think people got so comfortable in this country. They can go to sleep and not worry about budget debates. They made it so comfortable that when they make people comfortable in what they do, they start to complain.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Inspiration and Navi, I think of all the governments that we have had, this Andrew Holness-led government would have actually done more in terms of public education than any other government. He would have used all the social media platform to highlight what is happening. If you look at, never before have we seen so many projects ribbons being cut. And every day you wake up, it tells you every Friday, follow me. You can see me and see what I'm doing. You can go to GIS, you can go to he uses different ministries to announce the things that he's doing. Now, the thing is, do people listen enough? Do people actually believe enough? Is another thing. And what we find is that if you have an opposition who's trying to dispel and to tell lies and use lies and innuendos and half-truth as a means of their campaign, they have a base and they're being very gullible. And so when you find that we are out here who believe in what is happening, then you find the other people are out there trying to tell you that nothing is happening. When a man drive on a road, drive on 3 miles, and drive over the overpass, the first in Jamaica like that, and tell you that nothing is happening. Then, and when him just drive over 3 miles, he probably be on 3 miles telling you that nothing is happening.
Uncle Barry, I was just on the bird app, right, Uncle Barry, and somebody tweeted that they need to go over to this person's YouTube to listen to what they're saying, Uncle Barry. And you know what the people are saying, and they're saying that this is a PNP blogger, and so the PNP is going to call a press conference tomorrow saying that the cyber attack that happened at the Register General's department was the government and Israel, Uncle Barry. You see, these are the things that, I was shocked when I heard that. Because what are you trying to say?
When that happened?
Just a few hours ago, there.
I know, but there was an attack down there.
There was a cyber, and I never heard about the cyber attack.
Yes, Uncle Barry, these are the things that they're spewing. I was saying, but when
was that cyber attack?
Today. And I'm saying, Uncle Barry, that is dangerous. That is a dangerous part we're going down. They start to accuse governments of infiltrating our country again. Because they already ran the CIA thing and now they're coming back with something new to say that the election was rigged or something that they are.
Yes, I saw the report about the cyber attack.
Yeah, so if you're winning, why
was it contained or that they're trying to get a ransom?
No, they
No.
are saying that it
Because what they say,
was intentional by the government.
And how would that benefit the
What the
government?
government achieve by doing that?
They're saying that they are doing it to get questions out the black book. So for black book questions. And they're going to call a press conference tomorrow to highlight what they're saying that the
Black book
government,
of that.
like they're saying because they plan to use fake IDs in the government and people say they can't because of integrity labs at the EOJ. So they're saying that the government does not want them to bring their integrity labs because they're
Hold on,
playing
Navi.
fake
Navi,
IDs.
Navi, hold on, because I thought you said, what is it, the Registrar General? Or
yes, the
DOJ?
Registrar General. No, the Registrar General Department.
Registrar General.
IVD.
Okay.
Yes, I saw it. I saw the report.
Yeah, but
I'm trying to remember what it
So what
was.
is someone? What would the benefit someone to act the IVD? What's
So
the
they are suggesting
Yes,
that
Smitty. The questions from the black book are normally personal questions like that.
Earth papers.
so who is it that they're suggesting do the hacking?
The government, they're saying the government did it to rig the election and they're using Israel to help them rig the election. I'm saying, what?
But that
Why
doesn't make
would
sense.
you?
But that doesn't make sense, you know?
No, but
Let
them
me say this
followers
to
will believe them, you know.
Navi.
Exactly.
Them followers.
People will believe it.
Let me say this to them.
Yes.
See, if the government can do that and win the election, I have no problem with it.
No, but we know
Uncle Barry,
not
these people are
true.
going to call a press conference on something that is not true.
I know it's not
they're
true.
trying to create a scandal before the election.
No, they're trying to create a distraction. It's a distraction.
It is a distraction.
Yeah, they
Oh,
can't
my
explain.
goodness.
Listen,
You know, I
they can't-
said that to
hold on,
somebody
hold on.
today. I said it, you know.
Yeah, it's a distraction. They can't explain their 3.5. They have no policy.
Oh my God.
They can't.
Yes,
Said
but
it to somebody
you
when I
said
saw
that
it.
they're going to call a major precaution tomorrow. And
Yeah,
I
but
think
hold
the
on,
current
Navi. I'm just saying.
atmosphere.
Just like what you
I
see,
know.
just like what you see is going on with the JTA. It's all a distraction from the real issues. You see, now they're using this guy in the JTA to foment discontent among the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's an act of desperation. You know.
Yeah, I know on Dexter, but I was just shocked to see the lengths that these people will go because I think involving a country like that or saying stuff like that can cause problems. You know,
I
can
saw they're
cause.
trying to the scandal they're trying to create. And them gullible supporters go and believe them.
Yes, because they're over there. They make us see them over YouTube a cry about the government, like literal tears. Them a calling a cry. I'm saying these things are not true. What are you guys even screaming about? Saying they're going to call a press conference for this. Why are you calling a press conference for something that you can't prove?
These
But I can
bloggers.
tell you one thing. If they call a press conference, they're going to have to show the proof.
Exactly.
They're going to have to show the proofs.
And I think
So they
now
better
they
be
have
careful.
ways by which they can get after them and they can be held liable and charges can be laid.
Uncle Dexter, but I'm saying if I'm winning, I'm not doing all this. If I'm winning, personally, if I'm winning, I'm not going to do all this. Like, why are you trying
Oh,
to
my
create a
God.
divide? Like this, why are you trying to create a divide in the country that's already there?
America have a thing that they usually do before the election where they have like a last minute bombshell drop. I forgot what Americans them call it. They're trying something similar to that.
They did it on Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
They did it on Hillary Clinton.
All right,
And she
so-
lost the election.
So basically, guys, all I'm saying, if it was really true that the government was actually going down to this level to make sure that they put the election behind them, you know, it would be a good thing. But because we know the PNP is not credible and they are despots and looking for an opportunity, and they have always stolen the elections that they won. And the moment that we have a clean election, where people one man, one vote, they have never been able to win the elections. And as long as this continues to happen, where we have one man, one vote in Jamaica, the PNP will not see back government because Jamaican people are educated They are more
Yes.
educated now, especially with the advent of social media. You think what we're doing here, guys? You think what we're doing here every night is going in vain?
No, sir.
Because people
Well,
are
yeah,
listening to us, and people realize that we're not stupid. We're educated people who would
Yeah.
have taken our time off to come here in these lives and actually try to tell the people what is happening, right? And so because of that, there are people out there who are like-minded, who really wants to hear the truth, who wants to know, who genuinely didn't know what was happening, and when we enlighten them on what's happening, they have seen the light. They want the continuation of what the government is doing, and as such, they are going to go to the polls and they are going to vote for Jamaica Labour Party.
Right. That's why Sasko say. Hold on. That's why Sasko say. Right? Winnings. The year. We're winning. Let's say JLP Ado. Right?
Win, we are win. Win, we are win.
Winning. 1 p.m. What time is it?
At 1 p.m.
All
One
right.
thing I always say,
So
though,
we're
guys,
winning right
is
now.
that I have this thing where I say that PNP will vote PNP, JLP will vote JLP. But one thing I was concerned about was how much of the undecided and the non-voters were we able to bring into the fold going into the election. That was one of my main concerns.
I think a lot of go over there, you know, because people eyes open up and now, and them even hold the information like one time when them now, you know.
Because at the end of the day, if you have 60,000 PNP registered to vote and you have 60,000 JLP registered to vote, that's a JLP base, that's a PNP base. But how much are the undecided, people who never vote yet, people who not registered to vote, are we able to bring into the fold to get them to the polls this election? That was my main concern.
Enough, man. What do you think?
I feel them concerned too. I feel them concerned too.
Yeah, but the side that is able to bring in more will have the edge. And even if all of them don't vote.
More undecided right now.
Boy, the swing of me see towards the JLP right now, especially when it comes to the young people. The young
people. Who are switch?
Yeah, well, a lot of them have switched. We have some big names who come across and join the JLP. Up to now, I can't remember hearing since this cycle started of any JLP where leave from the JLP and gone to PNP. Unless it happened under the radar, I ain't no pick up on that. But I know my guy there from Central Kingston where them fight out. Him join us.
Lawrence Rowe.
Right? Lawrence Rowe join us. What's your name? With the big PNP the vlogger name, she come over to us now. She was talking the other night about bunting.
Natalie Stacks.
Karen Cross. Karen Cross voting for Andrew. Oh, come on, Squitty, man. We know you're sensible people, man.
And long ago, Venetia Phillips. Phillips came over a long time ago.
And this guy from Westmoreland, what name?
Yes, the guy from Westmoreland.
Yes, and bring a next guy with him too. And them take quite a lot of people with them. But I saw something the other day, Squitty, down a PJ constituency, they were is it Dayton Campbell? Them a push down upon the people them. The people them say I can't remember the name of the man who was there. Them say if Mark Golden not give them for them man.
Luther
Yes.
in Westmoreland.
So
Yes.
Them send a message to Mark Golden. The PNP them say if Mark Golden not give them Luther Buchanan, them a vote green.
That's in Danny Lawrence's constituency, I think.
I think so.
Yes. And Danny Lawrence has a very strong following behind him.
Them say them no want Dayton down there. And it's a PNP assessor. Alright? They literally come on the media and send a message to Mark Golden and say we don't want him. You understand? So quite a lot of people I think have joined the Jamaica Labour Party. But at the end of the day, it's who can bring in more. And this won't be an easy feat. The PNP run up and down. Remember, we have 49 seats, them have 14. For them to win the election, them have to keep all of them 14 and take 18 from the JLP to get to 32.
And I think that's a tough.
Anybody get to 32 first, win the election. Right?
Yes.
It's 32 plus 31, 63 seats.
And so
for
the PNP would need Westmoreland.
Right. But even so,
yes.
In essence, they have to keep all of their 14, don't lose none, and take 18 from the JLP for win the election, to make it 32. Right?
I can't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. I don't see the JLP losing 18 seats and don't win none from the and don't take none from the that's. But
I can't see that.
Having said that, irrespective of the fact, we still can't we can't rest on our laurels and say, oh, we have it in the bag.
Well, it's not gonna be complacent.
Alright, guys, let me play about the Luther Buchanan story.
Yes.
Politics, the simmering rift in the ranks of the People's National Party's organization in Eastern Westmoreland has spilled into the open. The former PNP Member of Parliament for the constituency, Luther Buchanan, is calling out PNP President Mark Golding for his continued use of the phrase blood and fire. According to Buchanan, such language is reckless, irresponsible, and could incite violence. His criticism comes after a house near his residence was destroyed by fire on Monday, an incident he believes was a deliberate act of arson. It's been an open secret that Luther Buchanan and some PNP supporters in Eastern Westmoreland are opposed to the candidacy of PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell. Buchanan explains that his home sits on the adjoining property to the house that was burnt. He says he had granted permission for the structure to be built on his land for a man who was working for him at the time. The house, he notes, was constructed by Food for the Poor. He believes the blaze was politically motivated.
It seems to be deliberately set on fire. And I mean, in a society as vulnerable and volatile as ours is, when I hear the leader of the People's National Party talking about blood and fire and telling people to get wicked on them, there are those that are going to take it literal. I consider such statements inciting, irresponsible, and reckless when you want to lead a country. So I am not saying who did it, because I don't have that proof yet, but I am of the firm view, and it is my opinion, that it is a matter of incitement from such comments.
Buchanan represented Eastern Westmoreland from 2006 until he was defeated by the Jamaica Labour Party's Daniel Lawrence in the 2020 general elections. He lost by 11 votes. He later resigned as constituency chairman in September 2022. The PNP's Dr. Campbell was subsequently named the party's standard bearer for the seat. In 2023, there was speculation that Buchanan may run as an independent candidate in the general election. He has openly stated that he was opposed to Dr. Campbell's selection.
It is an obvious, it is known from day one that I opposed the insertion of Dayton Campbell in the constituency of Eastern Westmoreland that I once represent. Not out of any ill feeling, but the process wasn't a real process. And for that reason, I objected to him coming. And then, really, I don't see what he brings to the table here, because he had a constituency. In his first term, he lost 4 councillors. Second, basically lost his seat by 2,000, and you're coming to a seat that we lost by 11 votes in a recount. I mean, the way you got here is. So the gentleman that lives in the house is one of those who share my sentiment.
The Eastern Westmoreland seat, created in 1993, had been held by the People's National Party for 27 consecutive years before Buchanan's loss. When asked if he believes Dr. Campbell will win on September 3, Mr. Buchanan declined to respond directly, saying only that September 3 will speak for itself.
This is my first election that I will abstain, and I'm categorically stating that I'm not a Labourite. I am not, but I'm not supporting Dayton Campbell in this.
You're not a Labourite. Comments have been made that you're actively campaigning for Dayton Campbell's opponent. Is that so?
I have not been campaigning, but I live here and I've had conversations. Am I not entitled to a conversation and my opinion? September 3 will speak for itself. From my observation, nomination day is a clear indication of where the people's hearts are. I regret that we are at this point in Jamaica, and there are some that would want to turn back the hands of time.
That's Luther Buchanan. He was speaking to Nationwide's Rogan.
Barry, Barry,
you read those undertones?
Yeah, man.
You read those undertones, Barry?
Yes.
Yeah, man, but he's
September
not
response.
Speak for itself.
So
I'm
he
not
says
actively campaigning, but I'm a man of my own opinion.
But Barry,
all right.
Barry, did you know, and Swaggy, did you know he and Danny Lawrence are cousins, you know?
Really?
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
They're cousins.
There you go.
They're cousins.
Really?
Yes.
There's some really cool undertones there.
So you listen to me.
Read between the lines.
Swaggy, I was on Neighbor's program, you know, and I told Neighbor that down here in Westmoreland, the PNP is gonna lose all 3 seats, and he found.
And they need Westmoreland, you know.
And they need Westmoreland to make it. And when I mentioned Eastern to him, he said I'm joking, but I didn't want to go into the intimate details as to why I have projected that Eastern will be coming into the columns of the JLP, because there's something significant, about Eastern that you have to understand. Those
signals are looking good.
Yeah, and those people
I hear this gentleman come by my thing last night, and either last night or the night before, and say, anytime election and Westmoreland win, and the party
will win Westmoreland.
Yes. The victory party wins Westmoreland.
But hold on, somebody in the chat is saying that Dayton won all 4 council seats. Again, let me reiterate and let me remind you that parish council election results, they don't usually determine what the general election outcome will be.
Yes.
That is
right?
true.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people
You have
don't
people don't vote. A lot of people don't vote too.
One of the most significant seats that one of the most significant seats that reflect this city is West Central St. James. I always go to West Central St. James. The PNP'S always hold 2 of the 3 parish council seats. What happened in a general election?
Yeah.
The JLP wins.
Yeah.
Mm.
They said who wins St. James win also the elections.
Mm.
And so Hanover, St. James, Westmoreland is very critical for the People's National Party.
Yeah, they'll have to be winning. They'll have to be winning Eastern, and they'll have to be winning Western. We know they can't win Central. Central is gone from them already.
I even saw a video with people from the constituency confronting Dayton Campbell and telling him to his face, "You can't win down here, Dayton. You can't win down here. You can't win down here, Dayton." And they were brave to tell him to his face. So, one to watch.
They have a new nickname for him.
Yeah, man.
They have a new nickname for it.
Hey, I found
Scramble.
I found the report, the RGD, the official website of the Register General Department, formerly Register General, RGD, formerly Register General Department, has been crippled by a cyber attack that may have compromised reams of high sensitive data. Multiple sources have revealed the Office of Government agencies that maintain the official records of births, of all birth, marriages, and stillbirth and death in Jamaica. The website remains inaccessible up to Wednesday afternoon. Major Basil Director.
So hold on there. So that would have said people who can get access to people who pass away information.
Yeah, no?
Yes.
But remember what they been saying now? You say them a man ball
I hear shit, Jambo, Scramble said something.
Them in a pen and you throw a stone in and the one with the ball out and come out of ball. Remember say man they say that them have to raise up all dead people to come vote, you know.
Alright,
Yes, and I heard that Jambo says it's gonna get integrity lamp.
Yes.
So,
Watch the ploy. Watch the
Major
ploy.
Basil Director of the Major Organized Crime Unit and Anti-Corruption Agency confirmed that it has been noticed of cyber attack incident and we are currently preparing to do an assessment. Jared did not name the agency where the incident occurred. The breach of the agency computer was uncovered yesterday. Top law enforcement officers told the Gleaner. They have people down, they're investigating external sources. External security team is working on it, said one source. The Office of the Information Commissioner is yet to respond to the question about whether it has been notified about the data breaches at the agency. Meanwhile, a media release issued today by the agency stated that the cybersecurity act was detected on Sunday, August 24. It said its initial assessment indicated that the incident was primarily designed to disrupt the availability of its system. Upon detection, the technical team immediately activated the established incident response plan and the office stated. The incident contained threats to digital forensic investigation, notifying the relevant regulatory authority and beginning to process the system and operational recovery, said the agency. While no system is foolproof, we believe that the robust security measures we have in place were instrumental in isolating the attack and limiting its impact, it added. The office says, given the investigation, are still ongoing to determine the full scope of the cyber attack. Services may remain temporary factor or unavailable. We understand that this disruption is an inconvenience to many individuals and businesses who rely on the services, and we deeply regret the frustration this has caused. The agency said it takes the security of its system and the data of Jamaica with utmost seriousness. We are committed to learning from this event and continue to invest in and strengthen our defenses to stay ahead of evolving cyber threats. And this was done by Laverne Barrett, you know.
Look, I am not a cynic and I don't like to speculate, but I wouldn't be surprised, and this is just my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if the criminal has returned to the scene of the crime. In other words, them do what them for do, and then them go ball out and say, at the other side do it.
Yes.
And in my opinion, there's only one reason why someone would hack into birth and death records. The organization that keeps birth and death records.
It's to get information.
There's only one reason. There is only one reason, Squiddy. Only one reason. It is so blaring. There's only one reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am biased towards the JLP because I'm my party. But there's no reason for the JLP to do this.
No.
There is no reason.
Because we are swing to them.
Exactly. So, look, I would have really liked to hear them come out to that press conference on this.
Well, they say they're not going to do it tomorrow, so I'm going to say, no?
Make us see. Because I would have really liked to hear what they're going to say.
Yes, that's exactly. St. Thomas taxi operator, them called Archive, charged with sexual assault of a minor.
Oh my God.
What do you mean then
And
call
then they want
I think I saw him name.
Oh, I
famous taxi man out the one.
Yeah.
Famous
How
out
old
there.
is that child? How old is that child when molest?
You know, I not see story. I not get. Let me see. I found the story. It's a 28-year-old Whitehall St. Thomas taxi operator has been charged for alleged rape of a teen girl who was on her way home.
When she under 18, she.
Narelle McClone, otherwise called Zai or Arkai. The police says the incident happened at Hillside District on the Tuesday, March 11. Right? So this was March 11. Reports from the Morant Bay police station at McLean picked up a teen while she was making her way home. McClone then allegedly turned off the bushes nearby where he allegedly sexually assaulted her. The report was made to the police and the investigation ensued. McClone was arrested and subsequently charged on Tuesday, August 26th. His court date is being finalized. So this happened from March.
And then the such man want to give money for care school people.
I mean, I tell you, there are so many incidents of taximen having sexual intercourses with children. You know?
That's why we need a school bus.
And then say NIDS identification registration and I try to say it remains safe. No security breach at NIDS. There's no security breach. JLP accuses PNP of anger despite election campaign. Will have an accountant charged for allegedly misusing company credit card. And 2 sign language interpreters confirmed for a leadership election debate. Man gunned down at home in Wolaba. CPFSA called the death of siblings in Center and horrific to provide community with counseling. And police in Haiti regained control of the telegraph. You know? An Office of the Registrar General Department Act it by cyber attack and Westmoreland businessman charged for fraud over car imported. These are the headline story for the Gleaner. How would you do this? 28th, today 28th of August, right?
Yeah.
So that is the headline stories for today's Gleaner.
Whoa.
Yes, sir. So that the man might go already, any mean necessary. But I could tell them what God said already, and when God say yes, nobody can say no. They could have raised up a whole line up in them. Still I say no. So the people them who go early go vote. Go out early go vote, bring on a neighbor, bring on a friend. Whether they vote, don't go in the yard, go look for other people, bring them out, go vote. If I ever carry them on the back, make them go vote, cast them eggs. Right?
And find out who don't have no voters ID or who not numerated and get them numerated in time for the election. You have a lot of followers when not really.
It's too late when I know swaggy.
It's closed. From about
Oh well, yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Petal like asleep. Petal, you asleep? Petal must have knock out, man. Yeah. Gills, Clive, S-Slap. S-Slap, my brother. S-Slap, knock out. S-Slap.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I.
Yeah, Virgin. Man, listen to the whole thing, Virgin. Where, boy, that's sad. Yo, the people them just need to keep the Prime Minister here, sir. And we have see great result. We start the result already, so we shouldn't let nothing distract from this in Squitty. See, all that debate talk, there shall just be nothing to it. Shall just gone through one of years to the next one. And we are waiting for the date to just seal up the thing with Andrew and just know, say I eat that, brother.
Yes, I.
See, why we are getting distracted by this foolish Virgin. Them can't do nothing for help with Virgin. If them can do something for help with, or them don't want help with them, not help a long time ago, bro.
I know them.
I want to come from start over.
Boy, Squitty may have go left on you, but all me I say.
Yeah, man.
The platform up on fire tonight. We have a big up Barry.
Yes,
and Dexter and inspiration, with some really education. And Squitty, trust me now, a national hero you get next, because facilitating this kind of conversation in this time, boy. We really love and appreciate what you do. So big up to everybody and have a good night. Have a cut.
I want to tell you before you go in, see, night before last night at 6:30 in morning, at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock to 6:30 in morning.
Yeah, man, that's true, man.
And we start with Dexter.
Wake up early and catch you. Wake up early and catch you. I couldn't believe you still up on it, but now it's 6:15, 6:20 then. I couldn't be saying Jesus, this brother here and man.
Too much people come back and say, brother, only day I see him.
Keep up the great work, brother. Keep up the great work.
Man, we are tired for the country, brother. Because we want the best.
Alright, my brother. We have to defend this. Bless up yourself.
Big up.
Alright.
Alright. That's right. Yeah, man. The party till daylight, man. We're talking.
So, Squitty, I can't see the reason for people want to start over. I don't like we feel. I don't like the government feel.
I don't like the country now develop, now move.
Yeah, we have big results. We have big results, brother. We just need to stay over there and focus and do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then I will get carried away like we at me 89. See? Because if we have them thing at 89, would I succeed a little better because people that see and understand when I go on the ground. When we see yeah.
But we lie them I tell. And the propaganda.
Them addicted to telling lie to win that. They don't realize they we live in a different world, a different generation. You have to come with the truth. It's like them ain't warm up to it, you know. Cause remember, my old lady said back in the days, them in that spread rumors say about stuff so foot, you know. See, and Jamaican people run with it. And the same couldn't read and all them things, and Jamaican people run with it.
We can't spell bread.
See? We can't spell bread. See? One man forgot university and can't spell bread. That's how backward the Jamaican people was in a Squitty compared to where they is today. See?
They can't come with them things, but they have smartphone.
Naturally.
So we can get to come together. We and people can up on the line and talk and discuss things and them are here. And people are here the truth.
Yeah, man.
And
yeah, man.
You know, and much don't have
if we never have them technology as quickly, we wouldn't see all them things there. Where Damien and show you them brand new equipment there to do food processing and making juice and all these things. We never know, say, we wouldn't see them things there, brother, for them have technology. You understand me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we don't hear say them have it, but we don't approve it, but we are still the man going at the building and show you the equipment there. Being in a plastic and all them things there.
We man them lock up for nothing at all. That's why them not trouble people them.
That's why they can't get the teeth election again, you know, because then they want to clean up the voters list and the PNP then can't get the people again, so that's why they can't win the election.
Yeah.
That's why they're mad. That's why they're mad.
Hey, Squitty.
Yeah.
You know what me I look on Wicktown Wind Farm, right? And me I look on me I look on the stock. If you did buy Wicktown Wind Farm, right? It would have been for 50 cents. Now Wicktown Wind Farm, the price for Wicktown Wind Farm is $1.27.
Wow.
Which is
100%.
127%.
Yes.
Increase on your money.
Wow.
So that means that if you back a few years back when Andrew Wallace became Prime Minister and sold Wicktown Wind Farm and you bought some of that, right? And you bought it for 50 cents. If you bought $100,000 worth, you would have gotten, you would have now valued 227 plus 27 how much?
54.
You'd have $154,000 upon your money.
Wow.
Right? So if you had spent $100,000  5 years ago, and I think 5 years ago, whenever it was, you would have no 5 years ago, you would have now had $154,000 per your money, which make it your money be $254,000. If you spend $1 million at the time, you would now have $1.54 million per your money.
Wow.
So that is what socialization of wealth does for us. And Wigtown Wind Farms, I'm going to tell you how much that is right now. 1 second, guys. Wigtown Wind Farm is now $3.69. You bought that for $1.25 a few years back. And so if you had bought Wigtown Wind Farm a few years back, you would probably get 200% on your money. So if you spend $100,000, you'd have $300,000 right now. So
stick up in as you're saying that. I heard about Jamdex, the currency, the virtual currency, the currency that is being created in Jamaica. And they're saying
that's not it was created.
The stock exchange you talk about.
No, Jamdex is a currency, a cryptocurrency. Jamdex it's called. And they're saying it's going to be more and more available as more people understand and get a knack as how to use it. And I'm looking that, probably there's some investment. You can buy some that it's now cheap and sit until it increases because there's going to be a demand for it, even locally.
All right, let me tell you, it's not really a currency. It's like a digital wallet.
Yes,
right?
I know that.
So basically what it does, it was about 10 years ahead of its time. And you see that guy that named Nigel Clark?
Yes.
He's a genius.
Brilliant.
Right? Because we're just now beginning to see.
It's a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, we're just now beginning to see this kind of development that is taking place in the United States.
Yes.
Where cryptocurrency will now become the way of the world.
That's right.
That's up my street, So I mean, after politics, that is where we're going to be going in terms of the discussion. Because what I want, Squitty, is that after politics, I want you to give me. I'm going to use my platform, and I'm going to use yours and others to discuss opportunities for investment in cryptocurrencies. And I'm not going to do this because I want people to subscribe to me. I want to educate my fellow Jamaicans in terms of how do you make money investing in crypto.
From crypto, yeah.
Right, because
I'm big on the crypto. I've invested heavily in crypto.
Yeah,
I've invested heavily in it. So and I've been in it for the last 4 years.
Right.
And it's been doing well.
So basically, and I'm just saying to you, inspiration. If you don't have XRP,
no XRP. Yes.
You have XRP?
Yes. Oh yes. I bought some earlier on this year, January.
That quadruple.
Right.
Yes.
So basically, if you don't have some more money, buy some more XRP. I'm telling you that. Right?
You know one that came to me earlier on this year. I went in and I bought $1,000, and it's moving like crazy. It's called Right BNB. OPNB. Yes. It's very powerful. It's right up there. It's right now. It's about. I got in when it was about 300 and something. Now it's up to 860.
Wow, you got in early month.
Yes, when it just hit the market.
But there's some that I have, and I know they have utility. XRP is one of those. XRP is going to be
the US exchange. That XRP is going to be big in the US.
It's gonna be Canada launched the first ETFs.
Yes.
Electronically traded funds for XRP in Canada. They were the first country to launch an ETF. And when we're expecting to see 19 ETFs for XRP launch in October. You see, when those 19 ETFs launch next time, XRP is going to touch like about $20-$30. And if you are in now at $3, it's now $3 and let me tell you where it's at. It's now $3 and $3, pretty much $3, right?
Right.
You get into it now.
And it goes to 30.
and it goes to $30. That is like 10x.
Yep.
It's like
10x.
10 times, 10 times your
Yep.
money that you're
Yep.
gonna have. So if you have $1,000 in it, you're looking at 10,000. If you have 100,000, you're looking at $1 million, right? So so guys, I'm telling you, if you are in the United States and you have and if you are in the United States, don't be left out. Or Canada or England, don't be left out. Buy some
Even
XR.
Jamaica.
Even Jamaica. I don't know how to
trying-
actually buy it in Jamaica, but I'll find out and let you know.
XRP.
XRP. I've been in touch with some people in Jamaica, trying to get them install their wallet. I managed to have some people install their wallets and try to help to fund their account, because I'm into many programs in the crypto programs, and what it does, by them being on board, it also helps with my liquidity. So it is a win-win. So it's a paying it forward, but it's also a win-win. And one of the things, they're having a problem to get the exchange and how to, and I don't really know, but I know how to fund the wallet from here, but I don't know how they'll get the money from the account when it gets to them. That's what I was working on. But I know how it works here, because you have the guys here on the street who sell the currencies. So I could go to the mall and purchase the currencies just from the guys here from the mall. This is big here in Canada. But in Jamaica, I don't know if you have to go to the Bank of Jamaica or which of the banks.
No, if you have the wallet, right, you can actually spend your money from the wallet.
Yes, I know that. I just don't know how they do it in Jamaica. I don't know how the transaction in Jamaica, but I know for here. So I mean,
That's a
was
project that I'm going to be working on next, and as soon as I have after the 14th of this month, I have some time off, in terms of evening, because the election will be done. I mean, and then I probably have 2-week break from my schooling, so I'll just have go to work and come home. So I'll have all of that time, and I'm going to research. I'm going to research how we set up our cryptocurrency account, a wallet in Jamaica where we can actually buy crypto from Jamaica.
Exactly.
So once we are able to do that, and we encourage people to set up, you don't have to buy a whole lot. And you don't have to buy a whole lot until they give time. Just
incrementally, little amount.
Incrementally,
Yes, incrementally. Don't buy a lot. Don't just be for example, people say crypto, Bitcoin is so high. Yes, you don't buy a whole Bitcoin. You're not gonna have 100,000.
I don't need, and right now, Dexter, we don't even need Bitcoin. And I would encourage anybody to buy Bitcoin, because you're not going to make no money on Bitcoin.
No.
There are so many other cryptocurrencies that has utility that
That's
you want
right.
to purchase. So we don't.
That's
And
right.
when we talk about these
and
companies,
you can make the same amount of money.
yeah, we're gonna make not the same amount, way more money.
That's right.
So when we talk about this, after elections, I'm going to encourage. I'm going to give you some ideas in terms of some of the companies that has utility that will stay. Companies that are actually investing and buying other companies, which means that they have assets that you can invest in. So you just don't want to buy meme coins where it's just for our entertainment. We want to buy coins and cryptocurrency that has value.
Demand.
When you buy this, right, so that you know that they are going to be around for a long time, because they're investing $billions in buying companies and buying all of those things. Those are the ones that we will encourage people to buy.
You have Ethereum.
We will not just tell you some Ethereum, Solana,
yes.
H-bar, XLM.
That's right. I bought some Pepe. I bought some Crow with knives. I bought a few of those.
And I wouldn't suggest you buy Pepe, because Pepe just a meme coin.
Just a meme coin. But when it came out first, I did bought it and I make some money, and I didn't. It was a pump and dump.
You get rid of it. Because I bought some Pepe, when it makes some money, I sell it.
Pump
and those
and
are
dump,
not going anywhere,
No,
right?
those are pump and dump.
Yeah, pump and dump. Trump is another pump and dump and all of these things.
Exactly.
But we know the pump and dump coins.
Yeah, we're going to educate the audience here. Because I tell you this platform is not just about politics. It's about health, it's about wealth, it's about everything. It's a multiplicity of avenues that we want to make this platform become, where people can, upskill themselves, enrich themselves in so many ways.
And outside of crypto too, Dexter, I'm actually into the regular stock market. And I mean, and I'm not necessarily provide investment advice, but I'll tell people what I do. You know, like for example, you invest in. I mean, while I'm not a day-to-day trader, there are some companies that you invest in that they do pay you a dividends, and there are ETFs. You reinvest your dividends and the compound earnings on these. You know, over time you don't have to put a lot of money in it, but over time you gradually put money into it, and you'll see money over time start to grow your way. And Dexter, I mean, I would love to share my trade with some people to say this is what I am doing.
Like-minded.
Yeah, you know. So guess what? If I'm doing this and I'm seeing, I may not be making a whole lot of money, but guess what? I'll be making some increments, making some.
That's right.
For me, it probably may not be a lot, but for you, maybe a whole lot, depending on your.
What if you know, Barry, I should inbox you, and I gotta let you into one of my little avenues that generates income for me, passive income, and you can actually on next Tuesday night there's a presentation for 8:00. I'm gonna inbox you, and I'm gonna see that you could get onto it and you could learn some things from it. For example, when I was introduced to it, I never thought it would work but it's all crypto, and for a measly, believe me, $100 US, and it's staked for 3 years, and at $100 compounding, it spits out 34,000 US after 3 years.
After compounding?
Compounding, yes, after 3 years. 100, it spits 34,000.
And you probably can remove your initial investment at some point, right?
Of course, yes. The money's there, and it's there. It works. It works for you. But I'll give you live, no gimmicks, no, and so these are some of the things that people think that they're alternate source of income that you could make in this North America. It's not just 9 to 5, and so you know. I think
Dexter, I'll tell you something, see. I don't know if you remember the other day when XRP went up to our all-time high, right?
Yes.
I went to my bed, right? About 11:00, and by the time I wake up Sunday morning, XRP was turning me like $7,000 in a couple of hours.
Wow, that's good.
That's what I'm saying. That was just a couple hours. So by the time, if I didn't wake up early enough, I wouldn't see it. But so this is how volatile these things are. But if you know exactly what to get into, you can make money so quick and so fast.
You can make money, of course.
So quick and so fast without actually losing. Because what happens is that XRP, even though it goes to its all-time high, it bottoms out, and depending on where you get into it, right? Because I mean, people who got into it like when it was $1, when it was 50 cents. I got into it when it's about $1.70, right? And I have been buying while my average is going up because I keep buying, right?
That's right.
If I was where I am now, when it was $1.70, I would be wealthy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, but guess what? But it's going to get to a point where I am going to be so comfortable because it's climbing. So when you hear it reach $15, $20, and $30, because I'm going to be in it for a long haul, right?
Oh
and
yeah.
Why? Because it has the utility to actually take you.
That's right. Once it has the utility, you stay with it for the next year, 2 years. Oh boy.
And the utility is what we will discuss, and we'll kind of tell people what they are doing.
Exactly.
So that people say this is not a Ponzi scheme. Because you hear about cryptocurrency, everybody thinks it's Ponzi scheme.
Because you know why?
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of bad actors who got into the crypto market. And two of the things and three of the things I encourage the people who I brought in, and I encourage them about. There's 3 things you want to find out. One, if it's a smart contract, if it's on the blockchain, those are what you look for to know that these will be around for a long time.
That's right.
These are the identities. If it's not on a smart contract, and if you have a little trader somewhere doing something, just be careful, because we call those rug pulls. The traders are somewhere off, and they're doing what they're doing. Oh, someone says, listen, I could give you so much $1,000 in one day or 1 week or whatever. You want to be careful. Those have some rug pull things to them. So you want to stay away from that, and it's there for a long term.
Let me give them an example of a rug pull.
Yes.
A rug pull. Trump won the election the other day, and he launched his meme coin, right?
Exactly.
And it went up to $70.
Yep.
And what he did, he just pulled out his money out of it and it dropped back to $2.
Good.
That's a rug pull.
And if when you get into it, depends on when you got in, you might just get in at the end of it.
At the
and
end
you
of
realize
it,
you lost all your money.
That's it. The only people who won were the people who get in early, and if you get in early and sell, right?
Yes, that's right.
All right, guys. Look, change that look a bit, man, and do some more politics, nah?
Yeah. So Spitty, I'm saying after this election, is some topic
concentrate on that.
Which has a lot of interest. I have not touched it in politics because I don't want to take away the political crowd.
Yeah, when the time come around, you know. Right now we have to push the politics right now hard.
But Barry.
Yes.
Did you want to ask you a question earlier? When the debate was going on, they asked Miss Favor Williams a question about the personal income tax from 25% to 15%.
Yes.
The Englishman asked Miss Favor Williams the question that the proposal going to cost the government $100 billion. Can you tell me how we get that
140 or something like that?
Can you tell me how we get that the figure?
The truth is, you see, if you look at it, it's like people just pull numbers out of the air without actually doing the calculation. Favor Williams, as the Minister of Finance, would have had to her disposal over 1,000 technocrats in the ministry who will advise her in terms of the numbers. They have access to the numbers. They know how many people earn what level of earnings in Jamaica. So when you speak from a Ministry of Finance perspective, you speak from the level of knowledge because you have all these technocrats speaking and giving you the information. They pull the numbers and they give them to you. So when Favor Williams come and give you a number, it has to be factual. It has to be factual because she's a finance minister of Jamaica. Everybody else can come put numbers out there. Favor Williams don't have that luxury. I want to tell everybody that. So anything that you hear the finance minister says, it has to be true because she has the people to advise her on it. And if she comes out here and spews lies, then it's going to be her credibility and the Ministry of Finance credibility is going to be brought in question. So when Favor tell you that this will cost $35 billion, if it was not true, right, you would hear the entire media fraternity, left, right, and center across Jamaica, talking about it today.
But you see how them full of propaganda, 100 million, billion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. So anyhow that was
a number without any proof.
Everybody would be talking about it. It's a Favor Williams, the finance minister, came and mislead the country because she has the technocrats and she come to tell that it will only cost $35 billion. Right? But if she had said something that was not correct, everybody would be down her throat today. So you can just take from that. And I said, she is not intending to do this thing one time. And she made that very clear. She said she's gradually going to reduce income tax to 15% from 25%. Which she did not say it's going to take 5 years, it's going to take 2 years, but it said gradually. And she didn't give us a number. So, and she says, as the fiscal space in the budget allows, right? Which means that she has to grow the economy, she has to bring down the debt, and once the fiscal space it allows, then she can gradually start to give back to the people. And that's basically what it is.
Because when he quote the figure, me actually start to have cold sweat.
come here and say, I want someone to get this a number from a ask the finance minister this a question or something. When we listen to other radio station or something, someone say 50, someone say 60, but if you say 100 billion.
So what you find, what you find 87 is that there are some people who are intellectually dishonest. That's how you call them. They're intellectually dishonest. They know the facts, they know what it is, and they will not come and tell the Jamaican people the truth. And I give you an example. Damian King was on Cliff Hughes' program, and he would not be willing to be drawn into which of the programs was better. And he knows exactly which one was better. He was prepared to say that both programs were similar programs in terms of what they will do. But he will not tell you that the PNP program cannot happen because the fiscal space in the budget does not allow. And if they actually implement the 3.5 million, it will put the government at a big deficit, which does not actually, which is not in law. And the only way they probably could facilitate it is to put tax on the backs of Jamaican people. So he did not go in depth to explain that, and he would not be drawn into it. And it is called intellectual dishonesty, because they know the truth, but they will not speak the truth. Because if they speak the truth, it will support the party in government. And that is what, if you listen to the people on the panel, they will not be drawn into which program is better and which program is worse. Right? Because guess what? It's called intellectual dishonesty. Because they know the truth. Because they know that if you were to implement this 3.5, it would break the government, the budget. They know that the government's proposal is workable because it is incremental over time. And they have said it is based on the fiscal space that is available. But because of their intellectual dishonesty and their support for the People's National Party, they are going to squirt around the bushes and tell you, well, it's a good idea. It is a good idea to bring the tax threshold to 3.5 million, but to implement it in the next budget cycle is a very bad idea. And that is what they have failed to tell the Jamaican people, and it is called intellectual dishonesty.
All right, good night. I am here.
Good night, JK. How are you going?
Guys.
You reach a yard?
They're here because I don't reach yet, but guys, there's something if you tell them very serious. And let me tell you something. I want them, I know they not tell where them I get them the money if you do that, But anyway, something I go on because right now I don't know if it's double in wind, but hear same drop down. Me stand up and I look on the big TV. I know board me not about I know that the board that big TV in Audrey put up in a Christian town. And him turn up and look on and I don't know if it's a double licking, but him going down. I'm bodyguard if he catch him. It's a hard lick him get. I know, but Jesus, God, I don't know, hear this serious
thing. You know you're a joke, you know you're a joke.
Yeah, you know you're full of style,
No, I don't know joke. God, if I ever know, see, I show me, I tell. And the next thing, again, when you hear, I come back right back to Northeastern Manchester. Because when you say, I have a job fair today. And a PNP, that's where shut and run go. Do you serious thing I go along there?
Somebody say it's on TikTok in trap.
Yes. Me not no right to tell her because
I don't say you tell her I'm not GK, but if you ask if I throw your attack, I know your style.
Oh, because right now, why me like you're bright like a hell to, Me I come back because my brain kind of mix up like too much things I go on to. And me I go down and you hear what happened down at Westmoreland the last time. Me dead in the spirit I see what go on, because you see the guy where him Bokana, when him when you hear about the house, the place where you get the liquor to the man if you put the house, so then they go with the blood and fire thing.
Yeah, man. With that place since night, yeah, man.
Yes, man. Why that's why I love my.
I cut a tree the RGD.
Eh?
You say they hack
Yeah, PNP, they hack RGD because they want to tamper with the voters list.
Lord God, you know, yeah, the man come out contact, the big head man come out contact, say, him a lamp a carry go there. Him a carry lamp, they go look on people finger.
Scramble, yes.
And now there's something that's a hell of galang, you know. Guys, me a remind you know. And one thing again before come out of my brain, cause me the panny and hell of galang. Uno see Miss Okila. I want big old broad woman.
The pastor night I look for everything at the veranda, I'm sick of dog and him run.
Lord Jesus, I want big old fat broad woman, you know. Them Barry, you know him so much of me did that thing as I want big up. Me say, when you look on in front, just so it broad, like I have any period back, he have any pad back.
I want you so again, Okila.
Right, so keep Terrian.
Oh, Terrian.
Yeah.
I want big
fat
broad with one big old broad. Yeah, the lips, lip, make that him out, you know.
If I see him, okay.
Me see him power veranda and piece of old veranda up Florida. But you don't mean the market. I don't know if you know how much him look like about 3 padding and one time calculate the time of the month. Next time you know about it. Next time. When you look at the condition, me I tell you the truth. You hear the guy where down why that stand where we down there, you know. Him say Barry say anyhow win this time. I gone over JLP, me no me I carry over this at what him Audrey in that so matter when you see that say put the X beside the bill. So Audrey endorse him. You understand me? I hell a galang that I confuse them bad. But I will things a galang because winter holla, winter fret. So when he win him, I go take down the big TV. Then he could have one China man, please.
Why am I going to take them down? And someone nice in the place, the people them in the country, right? They come out there and watch some TV
some poor people, they suffer in the bush part of the country, never see the big TV and then could have gone to look past.
Take a look at trip, go down to town, go chill with them family and watch some TV.
Yes! And them, as I'm going to take it down, so me go down, me send one message, go on, him say, if he put it, and so the Chinese man down there, he go down, they go ask him, say, where make them put it down? He say, make it on there, so make it stay there, so a shower time. Make the TV turn right over my place. Yes, so then if you have attack down there.
A bad man take him over, man.
Mr. Scotty.
Yes, I.
You see Damian Crawford. And him, and time just one time after he was done with the man, he lose this election, yeah? He would have been a madman for to take up politics again.
A true man. A true.
That 2 man beat him already and not 1 man ever beat him.
He would have been 3 times defeated.
I beat him.
Right now, me about one woman when I want funeral parlor. And the woman a PNP, but man, I was going for her Tuesday morning. You know? But he get back a message quick, say she not bother. She said she have to change because when Audrey meet her, she said she never see this in history. Audrey gonna go clean up the town, you know. 5 weeks, don't want to take her clean up the town, you know. 5 weeks. I wanna hear about how China do cousin down there. Down the Clarendon.
Well, I don't know about it. You have to tell me.
What going on there?
I hear say Chin take over down in a Clarendon there. That's where in cousin get up, cut him the panny foot, but China cut him down little by little. That's a chin we left South Manchester.
We left South Manchester.
Yes.
So we say we could get cousin seat to big G keeper.
Them in a year
But
Patrick
G keeper, you might be
Boy.
onto something, because I was hearing somebody called intonation, right? I was saying it too.
But what on the Dexy, what on me baby? You know said the man when named Patrick we call Cliff Hughes. Me have follow Patrick for years. Anything you hear is so straight. So you go, you know much time Cliff Hughes have to go and I'm so sorry. That's why man Cliff Hughes get so close.
Yeah.
Because you tell him, Patrick over there to Cliff Hughes. Hell is going on in there. He said, stop your foolishness. He said, it's okay. He said, long time.
I went not talking G keeper today.
I think it was Tuesday, Monday.
About
Monday or
Monday or two. I think on Monday.
Monday.
Monday. You see,
Never look at the file.
but I hear from the guy, the fan down at the country name Danny. And Danny come out, come talk. Because Danny talk the first time when he go down there, so that's how the people them crowd round Chin and beg Chin for the football match, and by the time him come with the and start fix up the football field, the boy drop there. And he go up and the people them beg him for mal on the road, and he come with him, and by the time he come there, him come with chuck a mal. Somebody run go tell him. But the guy I go everywhere because and then the people them in the long time now have him all over the place now. So country in a trouble. Country in a trouble. Yes, because people gone with Chin, Man gone with Chin, go help Chin down there, Oh, stop me tell you something here like a long.